Hey, you crazy cats! 42's live streams and videos are simply not available on vinyl. You will have to go to the YouTubes for that. So if you want content about British traditions and culture, cutting edge social commentary from an unapologetically patriotic perspective, along with a side order of madness you simply will not find anywhere else, then this is the place for you. And to all those early adapters in the chat, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's how you get the good stuff and make sure you never miss a tasty treat. So with that being said and done, squeeze yourself in. Let's get into it. You know you want to. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide and time zones are indeed still a thing. Can I get a audio check in the chat, please? And I'd say hello to both of you. There's Emma J. Is it? Have we run out of content? No, we have not run out of content. We were not doing, haven't done very well for research time lately, so that's what we're run out. I don't think we can ever run out of content. There's a lot of history to get through, so we will wiggle with that. Special K and Assets in. Evening, sir. Ms. Tree, hello, what about you? Glad to have you aboard. Curtis, hello. 1 second, I need to cough. Well, he's in. Very good. I'm going to run through a little bit of housekeeping, which is a bit chaotic this week because I don't really know what the hell's happening. But I found out within the last 2 minutes of Bonnie Ladd streaming tonight as well. So I'm guessing everybody's still over at his place because it's still staying live. Wasn't expecting that, to be fair. So there's that. What else do we have? Rags is live tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, I believe. And I believe he has the Angry Bootnik on. I think that's what's going on there. On Monday, we have Sansom and Toffee are still doing their Toffee live thing. DJ, what about you, chum? Do you want to jump on for a bit? Because if you do, and you're free, there's a link in for you. Did the kiddies not show? I definitely did do the kitty hats. I definitely did do the kitties. I could actually give it another go. Yes, that's because I have not removed it. Oh yeah, I'm well organized. Excellent, DJ. Jump on that. Jump on in with that link because I haven't had a chat with you in a while, and that'd be good. And I don't know where our third leg Sansom's at. He seems to be very busy every weekend. Don't know. I think he must have got himself a woman or something. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I have no clue where he's been. What else we going to say? Yes, the Dave's Waffle House, 8:30, Monday through Friday. Go in there, chill out. Have you missed all the hellos too? There was very few of them, to be fair. But I did do the hellos and I did say hello to you. And I did eject, I did address your comment about the absence of content. And there will be more history and stuff coming back uh, next week. I'm going to get the research on about the next batch of old kings and queens. We'll get that done. Actually, no. Next week I'm going to have. Next week I'm scheduled to have Courage is a Cure on as a guest, and then the week after that I'm going to be doing about the kings and queens, and I will definitely get that research between now and then, and that will happen. So where was I? Yes, in this disorganized melee of madness. The Waffle House every night, 8:30. Dave comes on, does an hour and a half, 2 hours. Good interaction, with chat, really nice people. Everybody's friendly. It's a good place to chill out and relax and get your head away from all the stuff we normally talk about, which is very necessary. The other thing that we've got to Edmund's reminding us it's the full moon. Yes. Super Dave's in from America. What about you, chum? Glad to have you aboard. Oh, yes. He is. Dave of Waffle House fame is most probably on the lurk. Misery's got cloudy and freezing. It's actually hasn't been bad in Belfast today. It was actually quite bright. No heat, really, to go with it. And Dave does protest that he is not working. I think that is all of the housekeeping up to date. Courage is a Cure coming on next week, and that's a good wee channel to cover. Mr. DJ, what about you, chum?
Well, like, long time no speak, eh?
It is, because it's just the way things have worked out.
Aye. I mean, in fairness, it probably should have been one of those things where some sort of announcement was made that, like, I wasn't going to be able to participate in our sort of end of month streams, but people have probably got the hint by now.
No,
given the fact we're almost in March, but you know.
Well, I figured out that I know that you're changing your streaming habits and all that. And I figured that. And then Sansom has also, he's been missing for quite a few weekends.
I've clocked that. He
Yeah.
seems to have changed to Monday now. So, but aye, bit shite, I guess, if you were fucking intent on wanting to see that and whatnot. But it's just the way things are, eh? You know,
Yeah.
life moves on, as they say.
I'm sure it will all work out again. That we'll figure out a timing and whatnot, and we'll get the 3-month streams up and running again. I always really enjoyed them.
Oh, aye, they were fucking. I mean, come on, the infamous Neil Oliver. Yeah, yes. I mean, but no, I mean, it's just the only streams that I can actually participate in now confidently, weekly, if there were so to be so, is the sort of Sunday with the lads thing, just because of the sort of timing of it. You know what I mean? Like Sunday night, fuck's busy on a Sunday night. But apart from that, it's just can't commit to anything anymore, really.
Well, see, to be totally honest with you, I only ever really do one stream a week, and I find that is quite an imposition on my life. Oh, so you know, I can fully understand you're wanting to move on, do things a little bit different to what you were doing, and
it's not so much that, to be honest. It's just because my missus lives 300 miles away. I've made a sort of conscious agreement with her, so to speak, to spend all of my weekends with her. So that kind of rules out being able to like do streams on a Saturday night or whatever, unless she wishes to join in on said stream. But to your point there about that, back in the day, I think maybe like 2021 ish, round about then at that era, when me and Scott's Armour and Clive used to do the Sunday with the lads all the time. Clive eventually had to sort of drop out for like family commitments, but it got to such a point where it was just me and Scott's Armour. Sometimes we had guests on, other times we didn't, but we felt we were just doing streams for the sake of it. Like we
Yeah.
felt compelled to do it. And so to your point there, it's more of a fucking hindrance sometimes. Like you can't be bothered, but you're expected to appear to do a stream, and even like, if nothing has happened whatsoever that's worthy of speaking about, you're doing a stream for the sake of it, and it's forced. It feels forced. So I
Well,
think it's more preferential and more beneficial, even for yourself, but for anybody that's listening who does streams or whatever, to don't have a specific schedule per se. Like if you go into my YouTube channel and you can press videos or you can press live. Look how many live streams I've done. Like it's not many, and there is nothing to dictate when I'm next going to do a live stream. It's just it's impromptu and there's no plan behind it. It's just when I can be fucked. If there's something that I feel is worth speaking about, fair enough. But when you're sort of curtailed to a schedule, sometimes that can be a hindrance. So I know exactly what you're on about there, bud.
yeah. Oh, Sansom has popped up in the chat. Here, Sansom, no worries. Working away with one lad there. Honestly, it's fine. There's enough eyes on the internet for fucking everybody. Use crack on and do whatever you were doing. I didn't know that you were streaming either, and I did put the notification up for this one quite late. Just the way things worked out this week. No worries, no drama, and crack on there. And I hope you had a good stream and continue to do so. Yep. So Sansom and Bonnie Lab are on the night as well. So there's that. But where you also had the problem was that Sunday with Lads was about current affairs in Scotland, whereas I'll talk about some more, stuff. What I was going to do tonight if I had my normal level of preparation was the next batch of early Kings and Queens. So I'm not short of content. Just my organization skills weren't brilliant this week. and night shift.
No, I mean, I think even if you were to do the odd periodic stream where you sort of open the floor up to, Collins, as this is called, Colin or whatever, like you've not sort of isolated, not isolated, isolate is not the right word. You've no kind of cut out some of your potential viewership the same way that we kind of did back in the day. Like, as you said there, but it's Scottish specific. So if you're not interested in Scottish affairs and you're from like Bulgaria or Manhattan, you might not necessarily want to tune in, So we did make a mistake there. But at the same time, that was never really an issue for me per se, because it's a Scottish specific stream. There's hundreds of people speaking about English issues or whatever, but there's barely anybody speaking about Scotland. So that wasn't really much of an issue. But I think really the problem came from one, obviously feeling forced to do streams, even though there wasn't that much to speak about. But two, more importantly, it's like if nothing actually major happened in a Scottish political context, we still had to do a stream anyway. So it's kind of like a twiddle the thumb moment, Oh, what are we going to talk about tonight? Oh, I don't know. Sturgeon, she's a cunt, isn't she? I agree. Oh, great. Great stream, boys.
That's the other thing. It wasn't even all things Scottish that Jews were covering. It was particularly Scottish politics. What I enjoyed about it was it opened my eyes to how similar the SNP were to Sinn Féin. I knew that they were pretty similar, that they were both Marxist and whatnot, but what I noticed from listening to you was the they're just giving each other policies done in the box. Uh, Usually do it in Scotland, then it comes to Stormont, or we do it in Stormont, then it arrives in Scotland, and
Aye.
that
Same script,
yeah,
like literally the same script, really.
that's that's the bit that I didn't realize was going on. So
Aye. Same with Wales as well. Like Wales
yeah,
seems to be like the least spoken about part of the UK, but they are head and shoulders above the rest of us in some respects. But you know, it's like a constant race for first and second place with the Scottish government and the Welsh government. But some of the shit going on in Wales even surpasses Scottish wet wipery.
see, I I knew Wales was very bad because I knew people from the Welsh uh, families for fathers, and I was getting the lowdown on the extreme feminist progressive stuff that the Welsh government was doing, or assembly. So I knew that was bad, but it's fucking nuts, mate. And it's just getting worse every time that you think that they've gone as far as they possibly could with their madness. It it just comes again.
Yeah. Oh, there's never a dull moment, you know.
Yeah.
But what surprises me about Wales is the fact that it's a UK party that's sort of implementing all of this in Wales, or they're overseeing it anyway. Whereas in
Yep.
Scotland, it's the SNP. You know, it's not a UK wide party. It's
Yep. It's mostly Labour
Yeah, it's Labour
in
exactly.
Wales.
But like, what's that's what's really weird about Wales. But at the same time, what's worrying about Wales, because if Labour is at any point voted out in Wales, what's waiting in the wings is Plaid Cymru, who, again, to the point you made there, are identical to Sinn Féin, identical to the SNP. But in the meantime, you've got a Westminster party that's implementing the same shit. So, if anything, I would say that Wales has actually got it worse than any of us.
Uh,
Because who do you choose from? Do you
well,
choose Labour, or do you choose your so-called nationalist government? Hmm.
well, do you think what Labour have done in Wales is a forerunner for what they will do if they win the election? Will they put in the same policies everywhere?
See, this is the thing I don't get. Is Wales, not Wales, sorry, Labour.
Uh-huh.
I really find it difficult to sort of differentiate between Labour and the Tories at this point, in terms of, like, the Tories might not necessarily at face value come across as extreme as like your proverbial Labour politician and whatnot. But explain to me, since like the last 14 years of a sort of conservative government across the UK,
Yeah.
explain to me what would be different had it been Labour. Like, it's the same thing. They've overseen mass, unfiltered migration.
Oh,
They've
they have
sorry, go on.
conserved nothing.
Well, exactly. It's the old
Right.
cliche.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure that Labour getting into government is really going to make much of a difference in that respect.
I think that the level of petty crap that gets clamped down on currently would greatly increase with Labour. We would have more feminism. We would uh, the the hate speech laws would include misogyny, but not misandry across the rest of the UK if they get in. Uh, the like the the assembly in Northern Ireland's only up and running again on meal break, and already your woman O'Neill has said she's putting in something new and extra about the Violence Against Women and Girls Act in Northern Ireland. Uh, I've made a couple of comments about, are they going to make sure that the law also protects men Uh, I feel there's probably an email coming about that, but we shall see. Uh, but I honestly think that you will notice a difference. You will you'll notice a difference in the speed of what happens with Labour, but it's not going to. It's not a change. It's not a black and white change. It's not going to be we had these policies, now we've got these. It'll be a continuation and everything will speed up. It's,
You're not going to see you're not going to see like Labour getting in and reversing Tory policy.
no,
You know what I mean? But to your point there about hate speech, I mean, not Labour, like the Tories have overseen that anyway in regards to the online harms bill. You know, like that's I don't think that's been officially put into practice as of yet, but that is effectively a hate speech bill. You know, it's going to curtail speech and all of these added additional caveats, such as like criticizing migration, etc. Like these are all things that have been incorporated into this bill. That's the Tories. So I mean, I really struggle at this point to see how it would be any different if Labour got in. Yeah, maybe you'll see like the odd thing here and there that is like, oh, that's definitely Labour, like you know. But I just don't really see how it's going to make much of a difference, which is contrary to our good friend Sensum's sort of belief that we should vote out the Tories. They need to die at all costs, and we need to vote in Labour. Uh, I don't know why he thinks that. Like it's bizarre. I've heard him explain himself a few times, but I want to bring your attention to this. Actually, this was just recently. Let me share the screen for a second. This is from your neck of
certainly.
the woods. Like,
Yep.
what's your take on this? Tell me when you can see it.
Overwhelming majority of NI voters back rejoining EU.
Yeah, it says here that almost 2/3, as you said, would vote to rejoin the EU if another referendum was held today. According to a poll, I hate polls, but regardless, let's just take it at face value. It
Oh,
shows an increase on the
does it
pro
say
EU votes.
does
Sorry,
it
go on.
say who the poll does it say who the poll was by?
The findings emerged after a survey by Lucid Talk for Sunday
Right,
Life and the Belfast Telegraph, with over
right,
3,200 people being asked for their view.
right. Yes. No, that's not 3,200 people. That's more like 1,000 people 3 and 4 times.
Probable.
No, oh no, no, it's not probable. How how you get Lucid Talk polls is you sign up to them, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
right, you send an email address on the Lucid Talk. They send you an email every time that every time that they have a poll coming out.
Aye.
And yes, Sam G knows exactly what's happening. Alliance Party supporters, Alliance Party activists, Green Party activists, Sinn Féin Party activists, people for profit activists, a whole bunch of them have got 3 or 4 email addresses registered.
Aye.
And they reply to absolutely every survey. Now, on the unionist side of the aisle, uh, I think hardly anybody replies to those polls.
Yeah,
Uh,
people with a life.
yeah, people have, but even the Facebook pages, or even the Facebook pages of the like the United Ulsterman group or whatever. There's quite a few Facebook pages of Ulster Unionists. I've never seen in that a link to join Lucid polls. I've never seen a link for a Lucid Talk poll. I've never seen any of that. Does happen on the other side.
Aye.
It's almost as if one side of the people have had years of practice trying to nudge and influence government, and have got people in place that fill in polls day and daily, and uh, make sure that the online voice is right and the other side don't.
Aye. Well, as well as that though, Ulster and Scotland are in the unique position, if you will, in this sort of debate, where post 2016, two out of the four nations in the UK voted to leave the EU, two voted to remain, Scotland and Ulster being the ones that voted to remain. But it's obviously not so clear cut. And something you brought up there regarding the alliance, it's the same principle in Scotland. You've got all these different groups of people who voted a specific way, such as Greens, SNP. And in Scotland, you've got the sort of vote would be split down the middle in terms of people who want independence for Scotland. Then you've got people who want to rejoin the EU or at the time wanted to remain in the EU. So that's two separate demographics of people. You know what I mean? But that makes the core votes. So it's their own effective alliance, if you will. There's all these different groups voting for different reasons and whatnot, but they're all sort of lumped into one. Thus, you got your vote overall. But I think my advice would be to anybody who was just of voting age and who was looking around the sort of political environment. If you want to be on the side of people with bullcuts and pronouns in their bios and have no tits because they've cut them off in the name of transgenderism and whatnot. And if they're saying that we need to leave the UK and rejoin the EU, I would say to you, like, question your life, mate. maybe, just maybe, vote the other way.
see, I can well understand if there's like one or two people that look a bit weird that's on your side. You look around and go, I wasn't expecting them. But whenever all of the freaks are on one side, it's probably a bad idea to agree with them.
Yeah. Fucking right. Who's that toffee? Oh, he's asking where my avatar.
Yeah.
Maybe later.
Maybe later.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're free.
All right. Oh, let's see. What else we got to talk about?
But no. The Labour thing though, I thought I'm worried, and I have been worried, and I've said this even on the streams that we've done with Sensum. Like Sensum's a fucking obsession with, we need to end the Tories, vote Labour. Yep. Fuck off. Like, I have got this horrible feeling, and it's becoming ever more apparent as we sort of, come closer to this inevitable announcement of a general election, that we're going to see some sort of Labour SNP coalition. And this isn't going to be like some sort of landslide victory for Labour. This is going to be Labour and the SNP forming a coalition. Like that is that to me is enough to make me wish to fucking I don't know, mate. That terrifies me. And it's not for like the sort of obvious reasons that some may think about Labour getting in and whatnot. It's because it will come at some sort of cost. As a caveat, that if Labour and the SNP need to form some sort of coalition, we're going to see a referendum.
Oh, I'll tell you what's going to get very interesting. Could you imagine what would happen if Sinn Féin actually held the balance? Would they suddenly decide to take up their seats in Westminster and join up along with Labour, SNP, and Clyde Cromer, or however the fuck you pronounce that Welsh stuff?
I think that's a problem that's coming in the future. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a problem at the next election. I think that's a definite issue in the next 10, 15 years.
See, the only thing stopping Sinn Féin jumping on that is they do not take seats in Parliament. They take everything else. They take the money, they take the funding, they take the office space. They go over there, they do whatever it is they do, but they don't do anything inside the house. But It is getting scary because what would the SNP demand off Labour?
A referendum.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm
Oh.
convinced is going to occur here. I mean, I'm not really one for predictions because first and foremost, if you're incorrect, you look like a knob, right? But second of all, it's impossible to sort of predict outcomes, to put it bluntly. But I am becoming ever more concerned about this idea that the SNP and Labour are going to form a coalition, and it's going to result in a referendum because that's always what they talk about. And it's the reality of the matter is in Scotland, as I said earlier on, you've got two different voter bases. You've got people who want to leave the UK with the sole intention of remaining or rejoining the EU, but you've
Mhm.
also got the people who want to leave the UK to be independent. So there's two different voter bases, but they've been combined into one because of cleverly manufactured narratives surrounding the concept of independence. So the SNP have been able to sort of hoodwink the public into thinking that like independence and European Union membership are synonymous and one and the same. On top of that, you've got the cost of living quote unquote crisis, all this bullshit, all the problems that are going on across our country. Uh, Everything is being blamed on Westminster. Everything has been blamed on Brexit, right? And that's sort of persuading some people to think that maybe, just maybe, Brexit wasn't a great idea, despite the fact Brexit never really happened as it was supposed to. Even if it did happen at all, was a question for other people to answer.
Oh.
But the point is, though, I've got this horrible fucking feeling that that's the direction we're headed in. And worst case scenario, even if that doesn't occur, Labour, the fucking Labour Party, are pro EU anyway. So who's to say that they wouldn't propose a second referendum for the entirety of the UK to, you know? So there's that aspect of it. But no, that's what I'm convinced. If the SNP and Labour go into some gay little coalition, that's the future for Scotland. And I want
Well,
no fucking part of it, to be honest.
well, I think if Scotland get another referendum, it'll push the needle on a referendum in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
doesn't bear thinking
it's
about, especially with
yeah,
some of the shit that's been coming out of the EU since this year started.
yeah.
Where like the EU Commission are on about wanting to have about 1 million migrants a year, uh, because of our aging population or their aging population. Anyway, like these are all we. I don't know. I want no fucking
Oh,
part of that, but it's just looming over my head. Has been for many a year now.
oh,
So
the next big destination for mass immigration is Ukraine.
well, they're
And
most certainly going to need it. That's for sure. All their men
yeah,
are dead.
yeah, they're out of people. I just want to quickly address this. Sinn Féin are indeed a thing in Ireland, and that's exactly what they're at. British out, anybody else in, and they are getting serious pushback. I know that there's a couple of people who've had to leave the party over their stance on immigration because they couldn't face their family. Seems they're only now starting to find out what what their plan was. So there's that. But yes, Ukraine's male demographics are, what's that word, fucked. Uh,
Aye.
yep, and definitely not going to be getting any better. They originally had their draft set for 26 years and over, uh, because the because they already had a low demographic of people, of men that were below 26, and now they're starting to push them into the army. We've got a new person backstage. Somebody saying vote Labour. I think possibly somebody
Oh,
new.
I wonder who that could be. Before Sansom says anything though, just to John Enoch Powell's comment. I hope you do not think I am one of these people who sits and talks about political, you should know by now. I'm very much not of that opinion, but the one thing I will say is the sort of mainstream parties, they're all the same. However, some of them have like defining differences in terms of the Tories. As much as I think they're a shower of shit, you're not going to see another EU referendum under their watch. You will, however, if Labour get in. But apart from that, I don't think we're going to be voting our way out of our shite show anytime soon. But hi, sense him, you dick. I mean, please elaborate. Please tell me why we should all vote for Diane Abbott on Keir Starmer. Oh, please tell me. Oh, why sense him? You fucking knob. Like, I'm telling you, mate, if the SNP and Labour form some sort of coalition, I'm going to ruin your life. I will ruin your fucking life.
We'll keep the red flag flying. Hello, chaps. How's it doing? It's almost like an end of the month stream, which I didn't know I'd be able to do.
Yeah. We've ended up with an impromptu 3 men walked in the stream. So there's that, and that's good. The last time we had a Labour government in for a while, what people stopped singing the red flag. What they were singing is, "We're out of work, we're on the dole, you shove your Mars bar up your hole."
And they did, and liked it, didn't they?
Yeah.
As we know what these politicians are like. Yeah, I'm voting Labour just to destroy the Tories. It's as simple as that. I don't care anybody says, unless there is one caveat. So all I would say is, to you prospective politicians out there, you better get fucking busy, because apparently it's local elections and nationals next year. Yep. I want a true independent to vote for. And if you're not there, this is my threat to you, you would-be politicians. I'm voting Labour just to destroy the Tory party, because while that cancerous piece of shit exists, nothing else can come against it, because it's that idiotic two-party system, first past the post, and also, right, whilst the boomers are still alive and something called the Tory party still exists, they're fucking voting for them. You know? That's because they still believe that it's a party that represents them and has their Corbyn army. You absolute racist bastard! Do you remember that one on Toller? That was fucking funny, that was. But I'll be having words with you, Rob D, in a minute. But yeah, I hate the Tory party because they've allowed this shit to happen. They've allowed this shit to happen. They've had 14 fucking years. The SNP have had 13, but they've had 14 fucking years of bullshittery. And every single time they've made things worse. And while they exist, people with, unfortunately, a lot of people still believe the lamestream media and still believe that the Tories are on their side, or whenever they see the lamestream media poking fun at the Tories for being too far right. I mean, there isn't any far right party in this country. I wish there fucking was. Far right these days means that you don't agree with net zero and you didn't want to have a fucking injectable enforced on you. That makes you far right these days. See, that's the bar.
Call me cynical, but I always thought that the right wing had a definition that was smaller government, less interfering in business, lower taxes, expand the tax base in order to get the same amount of revenue off more people by getting employment up and getting the economy going and looking after the people that reside within your country.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a couple of the comments. The apoplexy that's occurring in the comments. Martin W. Don't vote Labour. An Anglo-Saxon, a fellow lobby lover. It's like, no, you can't be saying that. Yeah, I know where you're coming from. But
I think the comment you just left there is even more remarkable, to be honest, that Richard Tice is the best out of a shower of shite. Am I not correct in saying that Richard Tice was very much in favour of the jibby jabbies?
Oh yeah, he was bang
Mm.
on all for them. He was all for lock me down harder, daddy, and
Oh,
also
my
he
kind of
also
guy.
wants he also advocates for 500,000 foreigners to come into the country every year. Did you know that part?
Uh,
Did you see that on the manifesto?
I didn't know that. No.
Oh yeah, yeah, because old be there or be Richard Tice or Tice or whatever he's called. Um, Yeah, his party's advocacy is one in, one out. Well, 500,000 of the people that we probably want to retain fuck off every year. So that means that we get 500,000 M10 bays and fucking backpack wearers that we're ticking clocks in them. At least I think the clocks in them that come in their place. That's the Reform Party stand. How progressive, how wonderful. I want a party that's saying, yeah, we're going to throw out all the fuckers that shouldn't be here. We're going to throw out all the criminal fuckers and we're going to start spending some of the money, that we pissed away on shit like the sniffle that was pointless on, incentivized repatriation. That's where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? So anyway, there you go. Maybe that's just me.
Rob D, I'm very much with you in your comment there, to be honest. But yeah,
What's Rob D saying now? He's being a little shit stirrer today, isn't
he's
he?
not
Here we
really.
go.
He's
Yes, he
putting
is. I'm going to have
proof to
words with you
power.
now. I'm going to right, Rob D. I'm having words with you.
Exactly that. That is exactly the sort of
There you go.
idealistic world that I would love to see. It's not going to happen, but that's what I fundamentally
Yeah,
think should happen.
So you
yeah.
do
But the
know that.
problem is we don't have any minimum. To be honest with you, DJ, if we had, a minimum turnout, so in other words, for the government to be legal and to be recognised, there has to be a minimum turnout of say 30%. Yeah, I reckon. How many BAMOs are there in the country now? So is it 30% yet? But well, let's call it 40%. Let's be fair until the balance tips. But even if all the BAMOs turned out and voted for their local Wabi, who can't even speak English, has to do his MP sales pitch through an interpreter. Literally did happen last week. Yeah, you know.
Did you see what happened? Did you see what happened whenever the don't vote uh, experiment was tried in Kosovo?
Yeah, I bet it won.
Oh no! Right, so you've got a bit of whenever Kosovo. Let me know whenever it sounds familiar. Kosovo becomes a place. A government in Kosovo draws a boundary of where all Kosovo is going to be, and they include 2 or 3 parts of Serbia with Serbian people inside Kosovo. And from Kosovo was formed until last year. Those areas were ran independently by Serbian people. The Serbian people ran their elections and whatnot. Kosovo last year forced their first Kosovo election on them, and all the Serbs uh, refused to vote. No, Kosovo is part of Serbia. Right, Serbia was a big country. Kosovo's a chunk of it. And so what happened was all the Serbs didn't turn up to vote. They had a voting turnout of something like 6%. And that was the Kosovan people that lived in that area. Every one of them turned up and voted.
Yeah, but like your conclusion from that, like the conclusion of what you've just said there, is that if people don't vote, things are going to be implemented that the establishment, quote unquote, wanted. So
Right,
therefore, you should vote to ensure that these things don't, but they're going to happen anyway.
right.
So really, it comes down to whether or not you feel voting makes a fucking difference. If your two choices are don't vote or vote for something, but it's still going to happen anyway, my question would be back to the pair of you: why fucking bother?
Well, see, the 90% that didn't vote ended up with Kosovo people running all their shit. And
Yeah, but in a
whenever,
British context, what is
right,
going to be different? What is going to be different if people go out to the ballot box to vote for Richard Tice, or what's going to be different if people go out and vote Labour as opposed to the Tories? What's actually going to change? Nothing, like nothing at all. And when I sort of brought up Rob D's comment from earlier on, I'm not saying that like this is ever going to happen. It's never going to happen, right? It's never. But like most people know that politicians lie. Most people know that the vast majority of parties are one and the same, right? All I am hoping for in the future, right, and it's very, very hopeful, admittedly, is that people become so disillusioned with the system that they stop giving it legitimacy. I would argue that every time you go into that fucking that room to put your wee ticks or whether you send your vote via the mail, you're giving it legitimacy. Nothing's going to change. Nothing has changed. So you're just
I
giving it legitimacy. If the alternative is, oh well, if you don't vote, then things are going to happen to you that you didn't want. What's happening anyway? So what's the
I
difference?
th- I think a better option than not voting would be voting Monster Raven Luna.
Well, there's that as well. Hi.
Yeah, if you actually want the political parties to set up and take notice and actually fucking maybe do something for people, if everybody that currently doesn't vote and everybody that currently isn't registered but legally could be registered got registered and vote, and we all voted Monster Raven Luna, we would have a Monster Raven Luna government, and that would make the other parties get back on their fucking their starting pegs, I believe, because we'll have to do something. They will
Well,
have.
yeah, there's that. But as I say, that I don't really feel that that's any different to just not bothering at all. In the
Oh,
sense
not.
that, like, all of the sort of legalities that our country are apparently obligated to follow and whatnot. Oh, we can't turn away refugees at the door because of human rights and migration compacts, etc., etc. Don't really see how any sort of fringe group getting in as some sort of protest vote would make much of a difference in that regard.
Well, we'll put it this way: uh, if you don't vote at all, and just let the party loyal, your conservative activists, your Labour activists, whatever activists, they all go out and vote, and the rest of us don't. Uh, then whichever one of those gets the most people goes in. And I honestly don't think they really care. I think that this is a game that they play between each other on 4, 8, 12-year cycles. And I
But
think,
that's literally my point, though. Like what you've
right,
just said,
yes,
there could be said about voting in general.
right,
Like
yes, but
if you don't vote, things are going to happen. But
yes, but
voting, things
if
happen
you
anyway. So what's the
if you
difference?
if you vote the Monster Raven Rooney party in, you also vote those fuckers out.
Yes, but that is just as hypothetical and never going to happen, really, as not voting. People en masse not voting. So the reality of the matter is here that people are still going to go out to the ballot box en masse to either vote Labour or Tory, right? That's the reality, and nothing will change, right? Me telling people or thinking to myself that maybe we should stop voting is just as plausible as what you're saying, none of which will happen.
Oh, I'll tell you what. See whenever Count Dankula, Paul Joseph Watson, and Sargon of Akkad joined UKIP. Had they joined Monster Raven Rooney instead, I think they could have done something.
In
Had they,
councils, maybe. But
well, yeah, they could if they had a went. If they had a went Monster Raven Rooney and went right, we're doing this on the piss. We are memeing the fucking government. Memers of Great Britain unite. Let's fucking send them a message.
hey,
I think you could have mobilized a lot more people than what you think. And like him or lump him, I think the only reason why Tommy Robinson didn't end up elected was because because he started too late, and most of the people that would have voted for him were not on the register and were not able to get registered in time. But I honestly think they made a bum steer with UKIP and should have went Monster Raven Rooney.
I'd
Because
love
that
to
would,
see it.
yeah. If you got if you got high popularity, YouTubers, right, or whatever, that have got a big social media feed. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about the people with thousands uh, of people in Britain that are listening to them, and we all went, "Fuck it, we're going to turn this thing over." The Monster Raven Rooney. We're going to. We don't really care what the Monster Raven Rooney do. Our job is to vote out the current incumbents because they've done fuck all. I think that is a movement that would have fucking legs. I don't know.
It's just we ain't like it's not just us that do this, but like everybody that speaks in sort of fucking politics and whatnot. Like it's a lot of it's based in hypotheticals.
Yeah,
You know, but all I'm saying is that my ideal outcome is always belittled, and I'm not saying that that's what you're doing, but what I'm saying is in general. Oh well, that's just stupid. Except it's always belittled, and the alternative to that is additional hypotheticals that are equally as improbable. You know, that's my point.
right. First thing, let me say, I really did not mean to belittle your idea.
No, and I'm not saying you are, but this is what, like, you get people all the time that say that people like me or we're just pessimistic and we're not helping anything. But the alternatives that are always proposed are equally as unhelpful. And that's not me saying voting Monster Raving Looney Party is unhelpful, but it's unlikely. It's unlikely you're going to see that occurring anytime soon. But that's equally as unlikely as what I've said. You know, but one is deemed as pessimistic, one is deemed as doom porn, one is deemed as not helpful and whatnot, but yet the alternative is continuing. And this isn't really limited to us. This is more so for the people that spend their entirety of their commentary, YouTube, Twitter, Odyssey, Rumble, and whatnot, focusing wholeheartedly on the political system as if it's legitimate and whatnot. They still can encourage people to vote, and they encourage people to get invested and support fringe parties, whether it's Richard Tice, whatever the case may be. I don't see how that is any less unhelpful than me saying stop fucking voting. You know what I mean? They're the same. It's the same thing, really, surely, because the reality of the matter is it's always going to be Tory and Labour. So it doesn't really matter who you fucking vote for, but to sort of besmirch me saying stop voting and stop giving the system legitimacy is continuously shat upon and discredited. But yet the alternative to that is, well, just keep voting, bro. It's going to get better. Both are equally as unhelpful, surely.
The problem is, I don't think these bastards care whether or not their government has got any legitimacy. I think the only thing they care about is being voted in and earning that cash and sitting in that seat. I honestly think they would come out there with a straight face. See if the turnout was 11%, and they won 6% to 5%. They'll come out and celebrate it the exact same way as it did a large turnout. I want to quickly address what Evan said. There's a question over Robinson saying as the agent. Mate, I'm not overly fond of him, but I wasn't talking about his politics. I was talking about his actual campaign and how he did in the vote, not just the mechanics of the voting, not his position. But there you go.
I just don't think that if the Tories had been in power for the last 10 plus years, say it had been Labour, what could you honestly say now would have been different?
Nothing major.
No. Yes, there's obviously like other parties and whatnot that have cropped up, and some of them get a bit of popularity and support and whatnot, but they never really get into any sort of position that can make a dent on the system.
The deck chairs would be in slightly different positions on the Titanic, but it would still be heading to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. And I mean, like we were on about before, Sense enjoyed like Labour in Wales. It's fucking Labour. Like, so just because the Tories were sort of overseeing proceedings in England, their counterpart was doing identical things in Wales. And on top of that, their other counterpart, the SNP, was doing identical things in Scotland. They're all three apparently separate parties, but yet they're all sort of acting off the same hymn sheet. So, the same questions could be posed in regards to Wales. What would be different if it wasn't Wales, but it was the Tories in charge? What would be different if it was if it wasn't the SNP and it was a different party? Nothing has actually changed. So the sort of caveat to that would be, yeah, but so that's why we need to vote in fringe parties. That's why we need to vote X, Y, and Z. But like, that's not going to happen. Therefore, that's equally as unlikely as me saying people should stop fucking voting entirely.
Yeah, the National Housing Party UK seem to be getting quite a few constituents up. Maybe they might get a seat somewhere. Maybe one, maybe two. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be enough to make a major difference, but it would be a start.
Yeah, and I'm not besmirching anybody who's like trying to go down that route and whatnot. By the way, just on a side note, like I just, there's plenty of like independent individuals out there. There's plenty of groups out there that are trying to pursue the political route, and I'm not going to sit there and take the piss out of them or criticize them. All power to them, and if anybody wishes to sort of join their groups and their movements, then feel free. But I feel, and whether or not I am right or wrong in my assessment, I just feel that the system is so blatantly corrupt and anti-white, dare I say. It's infested with corruption, infested with bankers and finance, and it's, dare I say, wee hats, eBay and whatnot. It's just not going to make a dent on it, really. I feel, anyway. That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. And at the end of the day, I'll come back to my point and then I'll shut up. It's really that I have to go along with what these people say, but yet my opinion is deemed invalid, and my opinion is deemed pessimistic and whatnot and unhelpful. But yeah, I could say the same about their point of view. The difference is shit's thrown one way and not the other. So yeah. The end of the day, it's going to be Labour at the next election. It's not going to be fucking insert nationalist government.
No, to be totally honest with you, how our government seems to be working at the moment, and it seems to be the way all governments are working, is in one way, the United Nations, under one of their many fucking auspices, puts down an edict, and all the governments choose their own way of implementing that edict, but it still ends up implemented. Similar to like the compact on safe and orderly migration. And unless we had a party that were saying we're going to leave the United Nations, we're going to make our own, we're going to actually make our own rules. We're not going to just do what all these NGOs tell us anymore. I don't think we're going to get much of movement.
I do agree. Yeah. Like that sort of shit annoys me as well. It's like the last several years we have seen the likes of the migrant compact being signed. In years gone by, you had your like Barcelona Declaration, for example. Up and coming this year, I don't know the exact month. I'm pretty sure it's like next month or the month after. It's coming up anyway. You've got your pandemic treaty and whatnot. All these different sort of fucking treaties are being signed, and it's like it kind of goes to show that our governments, in many respects, are occupied entities. I just think it's becoming more and more apparent now. In years gone by, it would have been classified as sort of conspiratorial to bring that up, that our governments are occupied entities, but it's pretty apparent. Some pushback to that would be that the likes of the Migration Compact signed in 2018, they're not legally binding pieces of legislation, but they might as well be, because we're acting accordingly anyway, So any government that was to sort of go away from the status quo and start acting independently and whatnot, regaining their sovereignty that's been completely and utterly robbed of them, whether that be from the EU or otherwise, you're going to run into all of the different battles, such as sanctions, etc., etc. You know, I just find it very difficult to see any sort of world where a government is going to rise to power and go, fuck you to the UN, fuck you to the WHO, fuck you to all your treaties, and start taking control and start putting their own people first. I just think that
Oh,
what's more
oh,
beneficial is for people to start to realize that the system is absolutely corrupt from head to toe and start looking towards their own people and going, we need to stop paying any attention to these CUNTs, pardon my French, because I'm cautious of my amount of profanity, and start taking control back themselves. Stop
oh,
giving legitimacy to the quote unquote system.
the the World Health Organization is actually the United Nations.
No, I know that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the same thing. I get
yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's
but
yeah,
like,
it's the United Nations World Health Organization.
yeah.
It's the I used to think that these were separate entities,
No, no.
and
I mean, I
yeah,
was never of that belief, like, but
no, I did. Okay, get it. Sometimes it's slow on the uptake, but about 10 years ago, I would have told you that there was a World Health Organization and it's totally separate and independent from the United Nations. And I hadn't even twigged the fucking UNICEF. Uh, it starts with UN, has is United Nations fucking thing. And it turns out the United Nations is running fucking everything everywhere. And they put down their edicts. We put them in our parliaments. I'm not sure how much of the migrant compact got put into our law. Uh, the Istanbul shit uh, agreement on profession, United Nations Istanbul Convention on prevention of violence of women and girls. We got every bit of that ratified. It just came in.
yeah.
The
Well, the migrant compact was 2018, as I
yeah,
say. And I brought this up before in streams in the past. Like, most of my old YouTube videos are deleted because of the way that YouTube's hate speech laws started to adapt as time went on. So they were like striking some of the stuff that I'd made prior to them updating their hate speech law. So I just deleted it all in bulk. But in 2018, if you recall, Theresa May, when she was in charge of the Tories, allegedly, and it was going to be her bringing her first variation of the Brexit deal, right? So all fucking week, you had the mainstream media speaking to no end about, I wonder what Theresa May's deal is going to look like. You had all of the sort of politicians, whenever they had the
yep,
opportunity to speak, speaking about the same thing. I wonder what this deal will look like. And little did most people know that it was going to be on like the 11th or the 9th or the 10th of November. I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head, right? But little did people know that it coincided on purpose with the signing of that fucking migration compact, the same day that Theresa May brought her deal to the Parliament to be debated
yep,
upon. The same day, across the pond over in Marrakesh, the migration compact was being signed, and the UK signed it in full. Overnight, you've seen anti-immigration news articles and whatnot stop. The
yep,
Express and the Daily Mail used to speak about it quite a lot. People coming over the Mediterranean as well as people coming over here in the English Channel. That stopped overnight. All of it stopped because there was intent expressed that any anti-immigration coverage via the mainstream media would be met with sponsorships being removed. So the
yep.
media in Britain stopped all overnight, all coinciding with the Brexit deal debate. And as it stands, for anybody that can't recall, Theresa May didn't even have her deal debated upon and concluded upon. She pulled out. So it never got debated at all. She was supposed to bring it to Parliament and then she
And
pulled out.
that's why she never had any kids, mate.
Yeah. That and the fact she's got a god rod. But you know, my point is though, like, it's just all orchestration.
Sansom?
I've been pissing around in the chat, but
Yeah.
but I was just going to say one thing, DJ, though, and hear me out, mate. You know, this is semi-serious.
Okay.
If Labour are going to win anyway, then why not destroy the Tories in the bargain? Into the bargain, that's the only win.
I just don't understand the logic, and that's not me being a dick for the sake of it. I've said this to you hundreds of times before. I just don't get the logic. I
Well,
really
if it was
don't.
like Canadian Parliament, the Tories in Canada had a massive majority, you know, comparable to the majority that the Tory party this time around had under Bojo the Clown. And because they did similar bullshittery and all crap that the Canadians didn't want, mainly once again, you know, we keep on harking back, but it was mainly around immigration and the fact that there are certain areas of Toronto now that look like Islamabad and shit like that, because they saw it firsthand. They decimated the Tory party. I think they went down to like 2 seats or something. And that's too many. But it destroyed them. It literally did destroy them. Now, they can try and come back, but if they come back, it couldn't be on the same terms again because they were pretty much aligned with their Justin Castro's Liberal Party, just with a slight more bent on, and we'll deal with this immigration. Whereas Justin Castro was, we want the best and brightest, which is the Nigel Farage line, which basically means we just want any fucker in who can artificially keep wage rates low for the benefit of the big businesses, and B, it's a nice little voting block for us. So, yeah. So, like I say, I mean, you know, but the Tory party, I mean, Labour tell you to your face what they're going to do. You know, we want more immigration. We want more fucking bigger government. We want to spend all of your money. We want to raise taxes, but at least they're in your face. The Tories are, we're going to reduce taxes and then they raise them. We want to reduce immigration, then they raise it. Do you see what I mean? So I'd much rather, you know, have that fucking lump removed once and for all, and then start rehabilitating the rest of the body. And like I say, if nothing more, and Toffee's in the chat and he's an accelerationist, and I sort of am but aren't. But if accelerationism is something that could happen, yeah, and I'm not saying it will or it won't, yeah, but if it was, you better damn well make sure that it happens now or in the next few years, because it won't be long before it's 50-50 and then we are fucked numerically. Because if that does happen, if the end game of accelerationism essentially would be civil war, except it wouldn't be north v south, it would be along racial lines. It literally would be, unfortunately, and nobody wants that. I certainly don't want that, because the glorification of such a thing aside, you have to go through an absolute tragedy across the boards, and you just hope that your side comes out the victor. You know, if you look at any form of civil war, that's you just hope that your side comes out the victor. You know, we had a civil war in the 17th century because you Scottish fuckers ruined everything. But we won't go down that path again. We won't stir up, you know, little petty things like that again. But if you look at the States when they had their civil war, it destroyed fucking, you know, it's not something, you know, people fantasize about it. Oh, and then we'll be these big victors. But in order to get there, you know, you virtually have to destroy society as a whole. and
Ah.
maybe a
Right.
reset on those lines is what's needed. But all I'm saying is,
Let me
if
ask
we,
you a wee question here, and fuck you for your anti-Scottish bigotry, by the way. But let me just ask you a question: if
well,
Labour won, let
the
me
second is
listen,
so much better though,
listen.
didn't it?
If Scotland, no, fuck off now. You've even got me with your Freudian slips. If Labour won by 200 votes, right? Alternatively, Labour
It's
won
not
by
enough. It's not enough.
125,000 votes. What would be different? Like the difference would be that, like, oh, the Tories will be destroyed in one outcome, but no the other. What would be the difference, though? Regardless of the Tories apparently being destroyed, what would be the difference? 200 votes or 125,000 votes? What would be different?
Well, the difference would be that, as much as Labour would try to do it, they couldn't really be. Well, what I say, it's a double-edged sword. Either Labour will be equally as bad, and therefore we've not really lost anything. They potentially, because old Dame Key is saying, I'm going to get immigration down to the hundreds of thousands, which is pretty much what Richard Teese is saying.
That's what
Which
David
is still,
Cameron said as well.
yeah, which is still better than any fucking pisswank Tory thing. But if it does go the other way, then it does add a little bit of lighter fuel to the old acceleration and accelerationism position. So I just can't see any. I can't see any loss in wanting to destroy the fucking Tory party. I really can't. To me, it's the only thing that can be a win. Now, the little sleight of hand, I don't know if you guys have seen it recently, is they're intimating on bringing back the Boris and Suella ticket. Let's fuck off Rishi. He served his purpose now. And let's bring back the fucking Boris and Suella gruesome twosome, because they are going to solve all the problems. And that for me would be the worst thing ever, because even the most jaded of Tory boys would still fucking vote for them. Cunts. Sorry, but it has to be said.
See,
Ah,
because obviously I'm Scottish, my main issue with these hypotheticals is that destroying quote unquote the Tories leads to Labour getting in, which you're all in favour of, hence your YouTube name there, right? But it's the possibility of a Labour SNP coalition. So it's a double-edged sword for me, really. In all honesty, a Labour majority, which is apparently going to spell the end of us all. It's happening anyway under the Tories, but it's the idea of a second fucking referendum on rejoining the European Union, which is going to happen if there's an SNP Labour coalition. So I will never, just on that principle alone, get on board with it. As far as I'm concerned, on a side note, and I'll let 42 jump back in after this, it's like nothing that has happened in the last 10 years or so that under the Tories' watch would have not have happened had it been Labour. It's the Tories that have done it. Don't see what the fucking difference is, in all honesty. The same cunts, in all honesty. But it's, as I say, referendums. Not keen, don't want it, but that's the possible outcome going forward. So
I don't think we are fit to have any more referendums in this country. And my reason for that is the last time we had a referendum, the biggest referendum we've ever had, the people who lost did not go along with they didn't accept the fact, they didn't accept the defeat. They didn't do what they should have done when the country voted to leave. We never left in any meaningful way. Uh, the Labour Party, the Lib Dems, SNP, Sinn Féin, Alliance, uh, and some Conservatives fought the process of leaving the European Union to the point where we never really left it. And I think that we need to realize that with people like that, there's no possibility of a fair referendum, because if they are not going to accept the result whenever it goes against them, then you can't be organizing your country with referendums with people like that. And I really think that some people should have been taken to court for not going along with the result of that referendum. And we've just had a whole big shitstorm in Parliament, and the Speaker looks like he's going to have to step down and all of that. Nothing happened to the Speaker whatsoever whenever he presided over a Parliament that was going absolutely fucking apeshit and doing everything it could to frustrate the process of leaving the European Union. And our politicians did exactly fuck all about that. So I think that referendums should be off the table. But there you go.
For all the good they do, like, you know what I mean?
Well,
I still remember 2014 as if it was yesterday. And I mean, yes, I was in favour of Scottish independence. And I still to this day share the same belief that I did back when that result came to pass, that that referendum was rigged, but not for the sort of reasons that some believe. I believe it was rigged because it was part of a much larger game in terms of ensuring, like what you see now, in all honesty, when you've got the vast majority of politicians across the UK that are all of the same EU persuasion. Powers that be were never going to let the UK break up back in 2014. But I think, though, that if I can accept referendum results, which I did in 2014, going onwards from 2015 and whatnot, you didn't see me crying about it. You didn't see me demanding, writing into councillors and politicians demanding that we overturn the referendum result. I just fucking took it on the chin and got on in my day, as much as I was of the belief that they were sounding a bit odd about it. Come to 2016, same can't be said for the people that didn't win that vote. What we've seen going forward from 2016, I think, if anything, 2016 onwards was probably the most outrageous fucking performance in terms of democracy, quote unquote, that I think we'll ever see in our lifetimes, that I'm pretty sure most people will ever have seen in their lifetimes. I don't think I can think of anywhere else where this has even been remotely similar. You had years of politicians hell-bent on overturning a referendum result. You had the mainstream media en masse sort of reaffirming and validating this position. You had mass protests and whatnot of a bunch of bobbags all reiterating that position, trying to undermine a referendum result, overturn it at every fucking possibility with your hard Brexit, soft Brexits, elections, whether they be council, local, European election, or even general elections. All of it was sort of predicated on, if you vote for me, then we'll have another referendum. Like, everything was centered around overturning a referendum result. Like, I think, if anything, that did a lot more than any of us could ever do to undermine the legitimacy of democracy. That should have been a wake-up call to many people. I think it was, in all honesty. But yeah, as I say, if I could accept the 2014 referendum result, then surely people should be able to accept the 2016 one. But alas, it was just never to be.
Anglo makes a good point. Switzerland have many referendums. Yes, they do. And it's a hugely successful country. Yes, it is. But the government accept the results of the referendum. What we had was the people in government refusing to accept the referendum result. And we now know, yep, Swiss still have guns. This is another thing. There's you can only have referendums that people are going to play fair, and as DJ says, it has been proved beyond the shadow of a doubt there is no democracy in this country. Those fuckers are there running their own little empire, and they just do as they please. They don't go back to the constituency with anything.
It's not even just like on a fucking national level, it's local as well.
Yeah.
And I've said many times when we've been on stream before that I have a lot more faith in sort of local elections, like in terms of if enough people got voted in to council positions, they might be able to like stop or stall some of the shit that councils are implementing. But even on a local level, I can't speak with the same sort of confidence in terms of like what's happening in Brighton as I can up here. But like the Highland Council, for example, like the Highland Council split up between independents and SNP, but it doesn't fucking stop the SNP getting their way. You know, like the Highlands, they're implementing their 20 mile per hour scheme everywhere. The Green Party, the National Green Party, have said that by 2025 they want Scotland's roads to effectively emulate Wales, aka 20 mile per hour everywhere. So the Highlands
So,
of Scotland, Highlands.
so
Sorry, go on.
those long tarmac roads through the Highlands with fields on either side that go for fucking over 100 mile, they're going to be 20 mile an hour.
Well, not at the moment, no, but like
But
everywhere where like people tend to congregate,
right,
like you know what I mean? They're wanting to do, they're wanting to effectively mimic Wales. Like who voted for that? You know, who the fuck voted for that? Like LEZ zones is another one, you know? So we've got Glasgow at the moment has got the LEZ zone, which is sort of similar to what the sort of system in London, right? But the difference between Glasgow and London is you just pay like a £12 charge fee or whatever, then you can enter London if your car is classified as polluted. Glasgow's different. So if your car number plate is 2015 or older, if you enter Glasgow once, £60 fine. Enter it twice, 120, etc. This was all predicated, of course, on the back of claims that Glasgow's air pollution levels were toxic levels. It's since been proven that was a load of shit. But again, let me ask, who actually voted for that shit? Nobody did, by the way. However, now we've got Edinburgh, we've got Perth, Dundee, and Inverness soon to be following. You know, like these things are being implemented across the fucking board, right? Irrespective of which party has any semblance of control over council level. Like this shit's happening anyway. You know, we're all implementing, and this goes back to what I said earlier on about occupied governments, occupied countries. We're all implementing initiatives and policies and proposals, etc., from an entity that's got fuck all to do with us. This isn't Westminster enforcing this shit on Scotland. This isn't Westminster that's implementing this bullshit in Glasgow. This is documentation, PDF policies, etc., influence and control from our overlords at the United Nations. And obviously, you can do a bit more of a deep dive into that, BlackRock or people that wear little hats on top of their fucking head and whatnot. But the reality of the matter is, it doesn't matter who you vote for, it's happening anyway.
well, what happens is you go along and you vote for your local councillors, you vote for your members of parliament, and you're supposedly, 1 second, voting for them to advocate for your positions. But we never will be able to vote for anybody on the United Nations. Those people are just put in there. I don't know what their recruitment policy is, how they get there, but they just get somehow parachuted into that job. And they make the decisions, send it down to the government, and our government implements whatever they have said and then attempts to sell it to us. They're basically on a fucking sales pitch. They do exactly the same thing as I'm gonna dig out the unions here, because what the unions do is they facilitate an agreement between the workforce and the management. So yeah, write a strong letter and complain. That's about where you're fucking down to. So the management say that they're going to do something. The union have a couple of meetings, have tea and biscuits a couple of times, and then come on the shop floor and go, the management are doing blah, 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 and there's nothing you can do about it, and it just goes through. And that's the same thing that's happening with the big NGOs and the governments. And that's why, the changes that are being made in England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, France, Germany, they're all in lockstep because they're all coming from the same fucking place. And we have English councils that are implementing the EU breakfast laws, which bans plastic forks because banning plastic straws did so much good right enough. And that's even after we're fully out of Europe. They're implementing the decrees anyway in order that they stay aligned so it's easier for going back into Europe. It's fucking nuts.
Occupied country. Sensum, let me ask you a wee brief question there. I was just scrolling through the chat. Besides, DJ took the piss out of our intro. What was wrong with that, mate? I thought that was quite a compelling piece of content.
We haven't obviously read any further down because when you do, you'll explode. But anyway,
Oh
yeah.
no.
But anyway, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
What the yeah, mate? You can't. That's like dropping the N bomb, man.
yeah, it is.
Wow.
I couldn't resist.
The
I couldn't
Japanese-
resist the lies.
What
You know
a
what I mean?
dick, yeah.
Yeah, so Toffee, if you haven't been over onto DJ's channel, he called us a pair of boomers and did his version of the outro.
Oh yeah.
So you know, bit of shine music, as you would say, Toffee, to our.
To be in fairness to Toffee, probably would like the fucking song, but you know,
I can do that kind of stuff, mate. You know me. I'm a bit of a muso at heart.
right?
Not as good as 42
Right on,
and Justice Kane and that.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
one second.
But,
I'm putting a link in here for Rory Herbert. If you're not Rory Herbert, don't access the link because it's just for Rory to come in. Right. So there you go.
Are you going to come in and tell me why, like, I'm fundamentally wrong about my positions and why I should vote for?
I honestly don't know what Rory's going to say. If he's in the starting argument, they'll kick him out again.
I'm not here. Fucking, it's not an argument, Mike. I mean, I'm very much prepared. I don't think in my entire existence on YouTube and whatnot, I've ever had a full blown argument with somebody.
No, I was joking because
I'm all prepared for it. But
Rory never has arguments; he just ends them.
Yeah.
No,
I was going to say. I was joking because I could not see Rory actually having an argument with anybody.
That's because I'm just too alpha, you know.
Mr. Herbert, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Not too.
Sorry, I've missed most of your stream. I had my son and a girlfriend round tonight, and they didn't even turn up until bloody 11 o'clock. I cooked a chili con carne for them, thinking they were getting it earlier, but apparently the traffic was rather bad. But never mind. To answer your question, 42, yeah. What am I going to ask about? I don't know. How about the what's his name? The Speaker of the House of Commons, or whatever he's called, and the member, was it Lee Anderson? Is it the MP who's just been fired or suspended from the Conservative Party?
He's
talking about Islam.
He's been suspended. I don't think that what he said was really that bad. But to be fair, I have not heard all of it. I've only seen a little clip. And my opinion on what went down with the speaker is possibly going to get removed. Is thinking about stepping down. There's a whole shit show about it. But the 2 years or whatever it was where our parliament went way past anything that should have been correct under the speaker during the Brexit thing tells you a lot, because there was no hue and cry to get that speaker changed. At the very most, what happened was the Conservative Party said that they would put somebody against him, and he normally stands unopposed. But the politicians seem a lot more worried about what people say about Islam than a load of politicians denying the will of the people and not implementing the result of a referendum.
Well, what I read about it, 42, was apparently Keir Starmer challenged him, and apparently that was illegal under House of Commons rules. So the whole thing was against the rules of Parliament in the first place. But going back to the Islam thing, yeah. What about the what is it, from the river to the sea being broadcast onto Big Ben? I mean, did you see that?
What was from the river to the sea was put on the Big Ben?
Yes, absolutely.
Was that done officially, or did somebody turn up with a projector?
No, someone turned up with a projector. I mean, well, did you see that? Did you see the video of that?
No, I haven't seen the video. But what I will say is what a private individual does compared to what the government do is two very different things.
Yeah, but this is obviously an organisation who did that. Yeah. I mean, you to buy a projector that will do that, for hours on end, and apparently the Metropolitan Police did nothing to stop it.
Yes, well, the problem is it doesn't take very long to find out exactly where that projector's coming from and get it shut down.
Well, exactly. So why didn't the Metropolitan Police stop it down?
Because it's on the right side of history.
Well, and Sadiq Khan, our wonderful mayor of London, I think he wanted it to go on. So he probably told the police not to do it, not to stop it from happening.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how hands-on they are from the politicians in this country are with the police, but I would say there's been some form of policy in place to say, or somebody somewhere has had to make a decision to let that happen. That will continue.
Well, I would agree with that. But you can see what's happening in London, our capital city, and it's just going completely down the drain. And the Muslims are taking over. Don't you think so?
Well, it's not so much that the Muslims are taking over. Everybody on the whole left is fully behind the Palestinian people. And that's who's doing the majority of all these protests of like that projector and all of that. It's not just Muslims. They've got a lot of help with that. You can look at all these things. Everybody that's involved with the protest for climate, LGBT, QAI, zero emissions, vegans, that whole block is there along with the Muslims.
Well, that's probably true. I mean, tell me about
that's not just probably true. I've seen the emails going back 3 years where they've got all those groups, people from all those types of groups together, and their compact where they would protest. They would all turn up for each other's protests.
Well, 42. I mean, I could tell you when I was living in London in the 1980s. but and how the Muslims, they took over Whitechapel, that the east end
Yep.
of London. That was completely taken over. That was a very large Jewish community there. In fact, I spoke to some old ladies who lived in Wapping, which is next to the Tower of London, and they were telling me that their husbands, they would go and stand on this bridge and stop the Jews from coming in to pick up their daughters, basically. But I could tell, but within 10, 20 years, 10 years even, Whitechapel, that area of Whitechapel, which was very Jewish, they made all the shirts and suits for the West End of London. They're gone, and the Muslims have just taken over. And I remember it from back then. Did that happen in Belfast? I was going to ask you. You don't have the problem that London has, but is that happening there?
It is and it isn't. It seems to be more in nationalist areas. And tell you what, last summer there was a nice evening, and I went out on my bicycle. I was going around a towpath beside a place called the Holy Lands, which was all students, and it was. I thought I went into a different fucking country because everybody was foreign. Where I live, that's not the case at the minute. I don't know exactly what the future has in store, but we're a long way behind the mainland, but you can see things are beginning to change.
So what would your solution be, 42?
Stop immigration.
Well, here.
It's, you before you start to bail out the boat, you need to plug the hole. So the first thing you need to do is stop any new immigration until we. Sam say, yes, it is. It's fucking Mogadishu.
I've never heard that expression before. That's excellent. Before you need to bail the boat, you need to plug the hole. That's an excellent one.
Yeah, the first thing we need to do is plug the hole. We need to stop any more immigrants coming in, and then we can start sifting through and removing people. And we also need, in conjunction with that, we need to make it less welcoming.
I would say, however, 42, talking of that expression, that perhaps we should actually make a hole in the dinghies before we sink them.
Well, I think you only need to. Well, it's actually really simple. See you wake up on a Monday morning, you go, right, we're stopping this, and the first dinghy that arrives over, you film it coming in, you grab the person that's driving it, and you take them to court there and then for people trafficking, for bringing in however many people there was on that boat, and then you put them in jail for 20 fucking years. And then you put it on the news and you tell everybody, next person drives a boat over here, they're going for 20 years as well. And then we see how many people want to actually fucking drive the boats.
Indeed.
It's,
no, on a more fundamental point though, right? Why is it that, like, just because of protests and whatnot as of late, it's Islamists are the Muslims are taking over, right? So it's like, oh, anti-Semitism, whatnot, right? And then prior to that, obviously, anybody that opposes the war in Gaza, if you want to call it that, all of a sudden, if you oppose that, it's anti-Semitic, right? And then the alternative to that is you're opposing Islamists and Muslims and whatnot, so you're Islamophobic. Have you not noticed through all of this, right? Like Hamza Yusuf and whatnot have been on Twitter in the last 24 hours talking about Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, and there's no place for either, etc., etc. At no point has anybody, at any point, whether that be GB News, Channel 4, STV, ITV, etc., at no point has anybody at any point said, what about anti-white racism? Why is it that it's always that we need to speak about Muslims and their perils and their hardships? Or why is it that we need to speak about people with little hats on their head and how hard done they feel by and how persecuted and whatnot they feel within society? What about the natives? Like,
Here,
I'm so like, the one thing I will say, and then I'll let you jump back in, is like, I haven't really paid much attention to like the sort of ceasefire shite that's going on in Parliament. Partly because I don't give a fuck, to be honest. I'll be I don't care. But like even the aftermath of that, like even Lee Anderson, he's been accused of Islamophobia, and there henceforth he's been suspended from the party and whatnot. But prior to that, there's been other people for various different reasons, even going all the way back, like Jeremy Corbyn. It's just constantly, oh my Islamophobia, my auntie said, what about us? What about us? Like, I think we spend too much time, well, not as in particular, but just in general, like the mainstream consensus argument and talking point of the day is to talk about the plight of fucking Jews and Muslims. I don't give a fuck about Jews. I don't give a fuck about Muslims. I care about my people. I care about our hardships. And quite frankly, any discussion contrary to that is pointless. No offense.
But we are the only demographic that's not allowed a pressure group.
no, absolutely, DJ. I totally agree with you. There is not one of those 650 members of parliament who will talk about the plight of the indigenous people of this country and stand up for us. They just will not do it.
No, exactly. Like all day today, and Hamza Yusuf and Anar Sarwar, right? Two Pakistani men running for two separate, or the leaders of two separate parties in Scotland. Their tweets were more or less mirror images of one another, where they've both said that Islamophobia and anti-Semitism are both egregious, etc., etc. We need to do more to stamp this out. These are two men who stood in our parliament a few years ago complaining that every institution in Scotland was controlled by a white person. We've all heard the speeches. Police chief white, teachers white, etc., etc., etc. Like that's remarkable to me in and of itself. But the point is, though, that all of the focus is continuously on Jews and Muslims and how they feel about one another and what sort of rhetoric makes the other feel untoward and threatened and frightened, etc. At no point, though, is there ever any focus on us as an individual or as a collective. Never.
No.
And it's just doing my fucking head at it.
No, well, DJ, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. These people in Parliament, they are meant to represent us, their constituency, the people in their constituencies.
Have you heard
most of those, are 75% white, but they will not stand up for us. You're absolutely correct.
Oh, yeah. Have you heard any of them mention the small, minor fact that the Jews and the Muslims don't like each other? Have they said that any of the anti-Semitism is coming from the Muslims? Have they said that any of the Islamophobia is coming from the Jews? Have they brought up in any way, shape, or form the fact that you just might have two groups of people on this land who don't like each other? And maybe if we could get them all to agree to the fact that they're supposed to live in the country in peace and not fucking rip the shit out of the other people, that things might improve. Has anybody mentioned that to him? Has been an idea? Maybe no.
No. Of course not. Of
No,
course not.
so I haven't just missed it. It's not out there, and I've just missed it or anything. No, it's
I mean,
not
even
happening.
like in the years gone by, like Germany and whatnot, like, oh, anti-Semitism's on the rise. Like they tried to sort of insinuate that it's the big bad far right, but what they don't really tell you is that it's just the Muslims, by and large. Like, it's the same principles like in America where like all the attacks on Asians, right? It was like black people don't really know why they started doing it, but they did. But yet they still tried to insinuate it was the big bad far right.
Oh, the black
Like
people and
this
the
shit
Asian.
just does my nutting. Honestly, like if you went on the Twitter today, you would see it in all its glory. It was just person after person, whether or not they were of a sort of or if they had political legitimacy in terms of like being a politician, or if they were just your average Tom, Dick, Abdullah, Muhammad. It didn't matter. It was the same fucking thing. Anti-Semitism has no place in society. Islamophobia has no place in society. We must stamp out all forms of racism. At no point, though, that like any of these people at any point come out to speak about anti-whiteism. Never have they done so prior. That is fine. You can do as you wish in that regard, but as long as we're not we can't offend the minorities. That's what laws need to be passed to ensure that doesn't occur. Do you really think that there would have been such a fucking stink in Parliament if it wasn't to do with Jews and Muslims? No, of course not. Of course not. So, I mean, these are the same people as well who are all in favor of continuing the shit going on in Ukraine, right? The same people calling for ceasefires in the Middle East are all in favor of watching Ukraine continue to be butt fucked.
Oh,
It's like, that's remarkable to me. Why?
Yeah, because
I mean,
the
the people are
kickbacks are
brown.
better from Ukraine, DJ.
Sorry, what?
The kickbacks are better from Ukraine.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
of course.
Has anybody can anybody tell me what Ukraine's supposed to be fighting with in the next fucking 3 months? Because everything I'm seeing is they're out of artillery shells, they're running out of drones, they're running low on small arms ammunition, and they are definitely beginning to run low on men. And yeah, shovels. This is where we're at. And there's nothing good happening for Ukraine out of any of this. There whenever this thing's over, and whenever everything does start to come out in the wash, because it's going to have to. One thing that definitely is going to have to come out is the casualty figures in Ukraine, and whenever that starts to come out, and the fact that this war should have been over 2 years ago, and it was the Europeans that insisted it stayed going, and the amount of people that were killed in the back of that, and Edmund, they already are making the women fight. Ukraine currently have something before Parliament to conscript the young and the females, and because they are running out of people, and I don't know what the collective West need to do is they need to sit down with the Russians, they need to sort a deal that makes everybody equally unhappy, give the native Russian bits back to Russia, keep the rest of it Ukraine, stop this war now, get everybody that's wounded into a hospital and get them some treatment, and then try to start to rebuild the country, because if they don't do that, there's going to be fuck all left to rebuild in the western side. It's just fucked. It is totally and utterly fucked.
42. 2 years ago, I was invited to a dinner with my old regiment, with the Ukrainian ambassador was appearing, and they said, "Oh, it's not going to be very well attended because a lot of the squadron are actually in the Ukraine."
Yep.
This was such a lie. So the government lied about we don't have troops in Ukraine. Yes, we did. They were training them. And they were going, oh, yeah, we have Ukrainian vodka. And it's all, well, clearly I didn't even bother to go. But I thought this is absolutely crazy. This is what they're doing with the British Army. This is madness.
Oh, do you know, Mary? Apparently, we have 40 functional main battle tanks.
I heard that. Yep.
Yep. 40, a whole 40 functional main battle tanks. And out of that, they intend to create, I don't know, 240 Challenger 2s. What the fuck?
Can I ask a very quick question for you two?
Go for it.
So that was 40, yeah?
Yeah.
The problem is, how many of them do you think are functional if they've been maintained by diversity hires and feminists? Like that airplane with the door popping off.
Mm.
With the old airplane door popping off. Imagine there'll be some bloke like a James Blunt, because he was a tank. He was a tank commander. He was working for like NATO during the Yugoslav wars. And
I think he served in. Was it Bosnia or somewhere? Yeah.
Yeah. He was over there. Yeah, apparently. Well, he wouldn't say it himself, but it sounded like he sort of accidentally stopped World War III from happening. But it was a funny story. I'm not really keen on him as an artist, but I think he has some very good takes, and he had some excellent comebacks to like naysayers to him. But all I'm saying is, can you imagine how crestfallen you would be that you've actually made it to the front? You're in your tank, you haven't been droned yet, and you get there, and you put your shell in the gun, and you're ready. You've got it sighted up. You've got the Russian tank or whatever it is in sight, and you pull that thing, and boom! Next thing, you're at the pearly gates. And you're like, "What the fuck?" And he goes, "Yeah, unfortunately, your diversity maintenance team forgot to seal the latch on the thing, and the shell exploded in the tank. So yeah, sucks to be you guys." I mean, I'm laughing, but that kind of shit really can happen because. And I don't know if you guys saw this one. It's a one that me and Toffee spoke about either last week or the week before, where old Morgoth was talking about the brain drain and the fact that all of these diversity hires, whether it's like promoting the bloody alphabet community or promoting women's or promoting the Bane community, the vast majority of them, pretty much can't do the job. It's just that it looks good on paper. And they've been able to get away with this for the last sort of 15, 20 years. But now all of the people who are still there when these hires were being made, so in other words, the blokes, I'm going to say it now, the blokes who actually knew what they were doing, they're all retiring now. So what we've got left is all of the diversity hire chaff that was left. So they're now manning the nuclear power stations and the engineering groups for aviation companies, which you know more about than me. But can you see what I mean? And it's like, oh, right. So basically, the people who were protected by the people who actually knew what they were doing because they didn't want to rock the boat, they are now in charge. And unfortunately, they haven't got a clue. That made me laugh, that did. I mean, for all the wrong reasons, but it was, you wanted it, you fucking got it.
Well, whenever you have a look at the state of our army, the German army, the French army, with the exception of possibly the Foreign Legion, the Dutch army, I don't think fucking about with Russia is a really good idea. I think it's one of the dumbest things that we could possibly do. And a lot of Like the collective West is the collective West is rationing artillery shells and using cluster bombs and drones in their place because they don't have enough. And
But at the end of the day, Russia's not our enemy. Our enemy is fucking Westminster. Our enemy is Capitol Hill. You know what I mean? Our enemies was just outside the Brandenburg Gate or wherever it is where the parliament is in Germany now, or Brussels. You know, that's where the enemy really is. The enemy's not fucking Russia. Let's put it that way.
Anglo, the Poles were tooled up. I think you'll find that most of Poland's good shit's in Ukraine and in flames. We're fucking we although the Poles and the Hungarians are sort of halfway eyeing up little chunks of Ukraine for whenever this all goes to shit. It's total madness. And I can't see anything good coming out of any of this. And I think the main reason why this war is being prolonged is to try and affect the American election. And anybody with an ounce of humanity would have been suing for peace and taking whatever way they could, because there's only one direction this war's going. There's only going to be one winner. And maybe get it finished while Ukraine has a slimmer of a chance of coming back. Because every month it's going to be harder. And their birth rate was low before this started. It's now through the floor. And they already have plans for repopulating it with other Eastern Europeans, which isn't really going to happen because there's a lot of them don't really want to jump into there. And the other place that they're going to get them from, Sub-Saharan Africa. We'll see how Ukraine like it whenever they meet the new Ukrainians, because they're coming.
You know, it's a funny thing that you should say that, 42, because the first Ukrainians out of Ukraine when the thing kicked off, who descended on Southern Ireland, the bottom part,
yeah,
they too look like Sub-Saharan Africa. Well, you remember that one? Did you see that picture? Do you remember?
I think they only went to Ukraine to get the plane out.
Yeah, well, they were there.
Yeah.
And then they were interviewing them, weren't they, crossing the border? Oh, hold on a minute. Where are you going? Going over the border to Poland, do you need to get refugees somewhere? But aren't you going to fight for Ukraine? Why would I fight for Ukraine? I'm African. Oh, but it was okay for you to be Ukraine when it was the land of milk and honey for you, wasn't it, you bastard? But there was a picture, I remember it now, and it literally said, first Ukrainian refugees arrive in Dublin. And there was this bloke, this sort of, full on sort of Irish looking bloke. He had a face, it was crestfallen, because he was expecting all of these sort of, blonde, blue-eyed hotties from Ukraine, and instead he ended up with a cast from Roots, didn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he looked fucking crestfallen. So
you see, if you were knocking about Europe as a migrant, if you could get your feet into Ukraine just to walk out, you're guaranteed refugee status. So why would they not do that? You all about the Poland and Romania. That's where a lot of Ukrainians went, and a lot of Ukrainian women came to Britain, and there's been some predictable changes that happened, particularly with these liberal women that wanted to put up Ukrainians in their home, and they signed up for it, and they all of a sudden they had this slim, long-haired woman in their house that actually sounded like she liked men. And there was quite a few divorces come out of that because the husband decided he got on better with the Ukrainian than his wife, and they fucked off. So yeah, so it, it's been an absolute clusterfuck. The whole the whole sub song. I think they need to just get it sorted out, decide which bits are going to be Russia, which bits are going to be Ukraine, and let them all get back to their life. And I think Zelensky hasn't got long left because it does seem to be there's a lot of arguments going on in the Ukrainian parliament. Yeah, I think Ukraine will be celebrating Windrush. They're going to be getting quite the influx of people, and
Yeah.
which is
Like I say, old green screen Zelensky doesn't give a shit, does he? Because he's got an $8 million fucking dollar pad in Tel Aviv or wherever, waiting for him to escape to when shit hits the fan, hasn't he?
but I'm not 100% sure he's still welcome in Tel Aviv.
Why not? He's one of them, isn't he?
Yes, but I think the amount of Nazis he has around him has somewhat affected his reception.
No, he'll be fine because that's where his mum and dad lives, in that $8 million house that he just magically paid for himself not long after the war started, when all this money started funneling through various people's hands, shall we say.
Oh, I heard in the stream that in Los Angeles there are a lot of new, very wealthy Ukrainians, the daughters and sons of Ukrainian politicians and such, that suddenly have mansions. I think there's quite a few of them are fell in their escape nest, but it might come down to how badly they've pissed off the Europeans and whether or not they're going to be able to get out. One second. How long do you give Zelensky now that Adevka's fallen? I think the jig's up. We're seeing change likely if Ukrainians keep losing under his leadership. Well, I think that Ukraine are going to lose more and more and more ground. Everything's going to, the front is going to become more fluid as we go along because they're running out of men, they're running out of everything. And the Russians are just taking little bites here, there, and everywhere at the moment. And I think it's coming quite soon where Zelensky's going to have to either get out or he'll end up Gaddafi. And then we'll have somebody new, and how long they're going to let this go and how many people are going to let be killed before they come to their senses and create a deal. I don't know.
Do you think the sort of shite that was going on a few weeks ago, it's kind of died a death now? Do you think fucking the talk of conscription has got any validity, truth to it?
Conscription war, United Kingdom?
Yeah.
No.
It'll
Not
never
a
work
chance.
anyway.
The only time United Kingdom will have conscription is if we end up in a full scale war. And even then, I see conscription having really large problems because do you fancy being the person to go in the Tower Hamlets to tell people that they've got to turn up at the army camp tomorrow?
Well, in fairness, they are the first fuckers that they should be going and targeting, because I've told my lad who would be of that age, because he mentioned it to me in passing when we were out and having a couple of jars and that, and I said, "Dad, that's just bullshit. Don't worry about that. It's just all bollocks." And he said, "Yeah, but if they do it and you don't, you go to prison." I said, "I tell you what, if you ended up in prison, I'd be the proudest man alive. I'd come and visit you every single day, because why would you sign up to a regime that has made it clear for the last 20 years that you're not the kind of person that they want you in their armed forces? Secondly, who hate you with a passion, and thirdly, to send you thousands of miles away when the enemy's clearly within. It's not thousands of miles away." So,
Yeah, well, Sansum, you're absolutely right there. The Muslims are not going to be conscripted. They'll fight it. I think most of the young people in this country will not fight it, and there aren't enough places in prison to put all these objectives in. Anyway.
I'm not entirely sure how old your son is, Sensum. Like, not asking you to see either, but I probably would make a guess he's around about my age. I'm 28, and I can say wholeheartedly
he's a bit younger than you, mate.
Yeah,
But,
well,
he's old enough, shall we say?
I can wholeheartedly say that when this shit first got spoken about, I never took it seriously to begin with, but even in the sort of hypothetical outcome where it was actually put into practice, where young men were effectively told that they must go to war with Russia or whatever, I would probably be one of the first to say, "Go fuck yourself." And the idea of jail and whatnot don't bother me. Like, no. I think they would have a real
100%.
problem on their hands, because there was a serious lack of fucking national pride. It's not like the old days, like World War II, World War I, and whatnot, where like the White Rose campaign and that sort of shaming men to go into the war if they didn't want to and whatnot. Like, those days are gone. It's not going to happen. I think it's fear porn.
Well, actually,
absolutely. It won't happen. The government, it's fake news. They're trying to say this, and it's absolute rubbish. It's not going to happen. It'll never happen these days.
It's actually really easy. So see whenever you first turn up in a sleeveless t-shirt, have a tattoo of the Union banner and "No Surrender" written underneath it, and they'll go, "No, we can't have you. Fuck off. You're too British for us."
Well, 42. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the recruits? Even if they put them in a bloody van or lorry and took them down to the local barracks, can you imagine Sergeant Major trying to get them to on parade and show them how to do a left turn or an about turn? They're not going to do it. They're going to walk away.
Well, my opinion is this, right? You've spent 20 years chasing the rainbow fucking army contingent so that they can get free dilators on the fucking army medical thing. You've gone chasing the BAME community. You've gone chasing the fucking bull dykes. They should be because you've targeted them to join your fucking military machine. They should be the first that you want to conscript. And when you've run out of rainbow waving fucking soy latte, bull dyke, fucking M10 bays, then there won't be any. I don't know if you remember this one, Rory, from the late 60s, Fortunate Son by Creedence Clearwater Revival. It was a protest song during the Vietnam War where it's basically saying, "I'm not a senator's son." So in other words, I've got to go because all of these fucking higher ups are protecting their kids and keeping them away from the draft, as it were.
Yeah, I don't remember that, Sansum.
Well, that's a great record. But
I'll look that up. But very, very, very quickly, Sansum, my wife's second cousin, he was awarded the Medal of Honor in the Vietnam War. So I do know a little bit about that war.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is this time around, all of the sons and daughters of all of these parliaments and all of these councils, their kids go fucking first this time around. There won't be any defence. And then when all of their kids have been eaten up and gobbled up in the meat grinder, will just say, "Yeah, sorry, there's nobody left to go." Let what happens happens. If we get taken over by Uncle Vlad
Well,
and
it's the
his and his
globalists.
and Uncle Vlad and his merry men.
Yeah.
Let it happen, because it can't be any worse than the fucking shower of shit we've got in Westminster right now. We'll take our chances. You know what I mean? Or some other fucking, because that's that. Like I say, if you look at the orchestrations and the machinations of what transpired in the 1914-1918 war, the Second World War, they were both needless conflicts, especially from a British perspective. Yeah, we lost the most from all of those things there, and it was all orchestrated, and it was all, there was, like, once again, it was that same group. Let's just call them the banking cartel that did very well out of those wars. Our young men were decimated, especially in the Great War, and then subsequently in the Second World War. And for what benefit? What benefit for the shit we've got now? And that's not to take away anything from those men who fought in those battles, because they thought they were doing right. They were just misled. And the trope of, well, at least we're not speaking German.
Absolutely.
I'd say
Absolutely.
sprechen Sie Deutsch right now.
Well,
We wouldn't be would we be any worse off if we were sprechen Sie Deutsch? You know what I mean? I don't think we would have been. But you can't say that because of the cookies that were being cooked. Oh, right, okay, yeah, fuck that, yeah, okay.
well, no, absolutely. And going back to World War One, with the recruitment, they were asking 100,000 men. Was it Kitchener, wasn't it? And they had a million young men, all in the PALS battalions, joined up. Wanting to
PALS
fight for
battalions
their
was one of
country.
the PALS battalions was one of the cruelest things ever done, because the little village where I live, their little senator. Well, I say little. It's. I mean, you're talking about a village which is nothing more than one long street with a few offshoot streets off the side. Now, going back to the 1910s, it was just a pit village. It was a colliery village. It was a little mining village in Durham. Yeah.
Yep.
And yet there must be at least 100 and odd names on that cenotaph from the First World War. And it literally is. Just for instance, I'm not saying real names here, but like it would be E. Baker, N.
Well,
Baker, S.
yep.
Baker, all fucking family members, all people. So those communities were absolutely decimated because,
Absolutely, yeah.
a single shell could wipe out a whole fucking street. It was
Well,
outrageous.
I was going to say, Sensum, my grandfather was in the King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry in World War One. 80% of that battalion died on the first day of the Somme, and I'm sure that is true of probably your pals battalion. So 80% of the men in that village were gone.
See, whenever you walk around the streets around where I live, every so often on one of the gable walls, you've got a name and a picture of 30, 40 people that lived in that street or the streets around there, with their name and the address that they lived in and the date that they died in that war. And then you walk on another couple of streets and you've got the same thing again. Although having said that, at least the people from Ulster that went that war knew exactly what they were fighting for, because our deal was already done before it started.
Same, to be honest, quite often when I go to like fucking like wee towns and villages in and around the Highlands, quite often you'll see like placards or whatever, or for like the odd person that lived in that town, statues and whatnot dedicated to like just 7 or 8 individuals, you know, but like a tiny wee village, which would have been back in those times, completely desecrated. Some are like 20, 30 people. To Senson's point, quite often they've all got similar surnames or identical surnames. Other times not so much, but just goes to show that like every fucking part of the country, there are people going to war. Whether or not they felt compelled is a different matter entirely. But I will say as well, just to fucking annoy Sensum ever so slightly, none of these people would have felt compelled to go to war. You know, had the had the Scottish people been allowed to exist as a sovereign entity. So go fuck yourself for your comment from about an hour ago. And you're
Well, we didn't want you anyway because you're fucking useless, you Jacobean fuckers. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
kind of. To be fair, I can't really
It-
start
it-
like.
no, in fairness, I did John Davidson. It was a couple of years ago now. John Davidson asked me if I could knock up a bit of an in memoriam, like a memorial thing for Remembrance Sunday, because Remembrance Day. Armistice Day, the 11th. So he would do a stream on Armistice Day, which was the 11th, and it didn't matter what day it was. But I did this little video, and I did it with the music. It was mainly the music I did, but I put a little video to it, and it wasn't, just our guys. I did everybody. So I did the Germans, I did, the Turks, I did the Italians, the French, Canadians, the Americans, the Japanese, who were actually on our side during the First World War. Did you know that? A lot of people don't know that. The Bulgarians, the Romanians, whose uniform to me in the First World War was by far the smartest uniform you'll ever see. And it was the Austro-Hungarian, obviously back in the time. But yeah, the picture that I got from the First World War was actually from the Scottish riflemen in their kilts to represent Great Britain, and that's the God's honest truth. I've still got that image now. Very poignant, very sad, especially when looking along that line, the vast majority of those men would know each other from Civvy Street. Absolutely heartbreaking, heartrending, really is.
Yeah.
Look at that comment. Where did he go? Where did he go? Cyborg wasn't there. Cyborg. Don't know if Cyborg's in the channel. Where did it go? I must see this. Fucking. Was it Spanish chicken? No.
Is Cyborg's the Homelander party? Innit?
Yeah.
That's him, innit?
Wait. Well, Black Pigeon Pilled asked me a question, but no, that's not what I'm looking for. So, oh yeah, Spanish chicken. Tagging you, sends him. Ask him how the Darien project worked out. Excuse me, sir. Like, I did see your comment. Yes, I know. I'm not one of these like retarded Scottish people who think that like poor oppressed Scots were just completely and utterly like kowtowed into submission by the redcoats, half of which were Scots anyway. Yeah, I'm not one of these retards. I do know my Scottish history. I know that the Union was fucking voluntary and whatnot. Just a wee joke, because he made reference about an hour ago to, the Jacobites. But Black Pigeon Pilled, what do you consider the reason for why the Celtic fringe, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, all seem to have a strong... What? Is that even a fucking word? I can't say that fucking word. Towards Puma Thrakis. Mate, I thought it was a serious comment, then I read it in full way. I can't speak for anybody else. I don't wear Puma Thrakis. I'm an Adidas man myself, but yeah, no. Each to their own.
You do like a half ounce of baccy, don't you?
Yeah. But Puma Thrakis, nah, not my thing. Not my thing.
Actually,
It's because the squatting Slavs have got all the Adidas ones. That's why.
No, but like, nah. Well, they might do, but Adidas Thrakis for the win. But Aye, fucking. As for your Darien scheme, like, do you know, on a side note, it's the amount of fucking people, especially like the last like week or so, when there was like all this hoo ha on Twitter and whatnot over at like a fucking cafe that got refurbished in Scotland, and it was called like the Red Coat Arms. The amount of hoo ha on social media over this, the amount of like dickheads with like Ukraine flags and pronouns in their bio, all crying about this because it's absolutely disgusting and distasteful and discrimination, etc. Like all these wankers, like up in arms, and they really are like totally historically illiterate to like British as well as Scottish and as well as that English history and whatnot. I really do think that if there was ever to be some sort of like move in the right direction towards some sort of Scottish unity or British unity, it has to start first and foremost with getting your fucking fucks right. You know what I mean? Like crying over a cafe that's been refurbished because of the term red coat in the name, as if there wasn't Scottish people who were part of the Red Coat Army. You know, even Culloden Battlefield, which I walked around just a few weeks ago with my missus, right, and the dog. And we walked around and got all the like placards telling you which specific regiment specifically were situated there, etc. It comes to that point when you're walking around where it says that the Argyll and Bute regiments were positioned here to shoot any fucking retreating Jacobites. That's Scots shooting other Scots, you know. So get your facts right, pal. Like, seriously. It's not all about, oh, ma, fuck the English, yeah. Like, plenty of our own were traitors, historically speaking. That shit annoys me. I don't know what's worse. Some wanker who claims to be a Scottish nationalist who wants to open his butt cheeks for European Union cock, or somebody who just hates the English. Don't know what's worse, to be honest.
Well, I have a question for DJ. You know, first time I'm been on a stream with him. He mentioned the Homeland Party. I wonder what your opinion is of that party, political party, DJ.
Well, as I said earlier on, like more power to anybody that wishes to go down that route. You know, if you're hell bent on insisting that there is a political solution and whatnot, I'm not going to be the guy to sort of poo-poo in your parade. What I will say though, as much as this might be somewhat contentious to some, how is it that PA have spent years trying to become a political party, and yet fucking Homeland managed to do it in less than a year? I find that a bit weird. But that said, whatever they want to do, they can go and do it.
Well, that's good. That's a good question. I don't know the answer why it's taken PA so long to do that. Perhaps they just don't understand the system and how to respond to it. But you know, I think that Homeland Party, the fact that they've done this, and they can now stand in elections, be it local or national, good for them. And I think they have some very good points to make.
I honestly, sorry, 42, mate, just a very quick one. I think a lot of PA not being accepted is because in the diverse community, shall we say, I think Mark's well known. And as if you saw the application letters, the rejections came back from names that would have been better suited on a menu rather than
what did
British
the rejection
institution.
What did the rejection letter say?
One of them was over a tick, was it not? Am I not right?
Yeah, it was because
due to a tick in the name.
Yeah, because the logo is they said oh, it could be misconstrued as being a tick, so it's subliminal messaging to say that you need to tick for PA. So they adjusted that, but they just keep. I mean, they do keep on applying, but because the problem is, and I'm not saying this to be diminutive towards Homeland Party.
You don't get turned down as being a political party over your logo.
Yeah, yes, you can do. 42.
Oh no!
Yeah, if you apply with a logo, they can object to the logo.
Yeah,
I actually looked up. Well, let me just 42. Let me just say this. I actually looked up Homeland's application, and it doesn't actually have a logo, so they applied it without a logo. So I think they knew how to get around that one.
Yeah, no, but here's what happens. There in the thing, there's a separate section for the logo. There's a section for becoming a political party, and there's a section for the logo. They can reject the logo without rejecting the whole political party.
But that's
So
not what they decided to do with
well, I would suggest humbly, as someone who knows people that have been through this process, that there was more than one rejection email. That there was one for the logo and there was one for the party, and they have decided to show the one from the logo, but they have not shown the reason why the party was rejected.
42. They've applied 6 times now.
Yeah. Oh, and that does not surprise me. Haven't seen the way this thing works. The majority of it's all about how the party's run, how the money's looked after, how everything's all divvied up, how they report for taxes and stuff.
That's right. Yep.
All the how the party officers work, how the branches work, all of that.
And the electoral commission pulled all that apart. You're absolutely right there.
Yes, and there are regulations about how all that's done. So what happens is you get a letter back saying you have failed on this, this, and this, and you have an opportunity to cure them. And then you can.
The problem is they keep on finding little nitpicky things. No, I'm not pouring water for any one party or the other. I think the main reason is, and this is not. I'm not taking any. I'm not sort of picking fault here, but let's just say, because of his former involvement with the British National Party, they've got names to look out for. And if you look at the people, the returning officers, like I say, the names on those forms when they've been shown, they look more like names that belong on a menu, shall we say? I think it's encouraging that is it Homeland or Homelander? I can't remember. But the Homeland. They've got their thing, but the problem is, I think a lot of these rejections, like find nonsensical things or whatever it'll do, because of so-called perceived threat. And like I say, whether or not you agree or you disagree with one way or the other, and I'm a great advocate of not punching right in this instance. I genuinely believe that the system, the regime, if you like, they probably have more of a watch list, a sort of a warning sign list or whatever on PA than the other parties. Now, for me, I think it's all bollocks anyway.
They can't go outside of the Acts of Parliament to ban somebody.
The Electoral Commission has got many communications from Hope Not Hate talking about it. And
but they still can't. They still can't ban them. They still can't.
No,
they can't just ban them.
Let me finish. 42. What I was going to say was, it's very easy for the Electoral Commission to go, all right, we have an objection and we're not going to reply for 6 months. And that is basically what's happened.
But they're not allowed to do that.
But yes, they are.
No, they're not.
I'll say, I think the point that Rory's making is whether or not they're allowed to do it or not, they're doing it anyway.
Exactly.
They're not held. The problem is 42 is that they're not held. These people who are doing these rejections, they're literally not held to account, and that's across the boards, across all.
But they can be. They can be held to account.
But a civil servant
by the same complicit judges, judges that decided that to convict, although he's not been sentenced yet, Sam Melia, for having a few ropey stickers on his, none of which broke any laws on his computer, and yet on the same day of his conviction, gave a speedo, shall we say, what is it? Where you sent you've got like, what is it, a suspended sentence. So in other words, somebody was let free who was a speedo on an 18-month or 2-year suspended sentence. So in other words, basically, you know, you did what we said you did, which was you're a bit of a speedo, but you know you're on your own cognizance for the next 2 years. But if you break the law, we'll roll you back in and we will put you to prison this time. Whereas, as we've seen with Sven Longshanks, we've seen with Charlie Big Potatoes, we've seen with James Costello, you know, all thrown in prison with the key thrown away for 5 years for having the wrong opinion, literally. So if they're prepared to do that to people for just having, you know, the wrong library or the wrong set of stickers on their computers, you know, they're not going to think twice about pissing around with a fucking application letter, legal or not. These cunts are fucking don't care. This is why, because who holds these bastards in the civil service and government to account? Well, it's supposed to be the judiciary, but they are in on part of the game. They're part of the regime. They're part of the problem. So when we stand out and we dissent against all of this collective fucking shit that is thrown our way, yeah, we get the sentences, we get the key thrown away. When you get the people who are all on board with the regime, even though they're a fucking set of diddlers, they well, we'll let you off because you're on our side, sort of thing. You're absolutely right. You know, the law, you know, when you've got all justice there holding the sword and the thing, is supposed to have a blindfold up because the law is supposed to be blind. It is anything fucking but. And if you were a dissenter against the jibby jab, or you were a dissenter against lockdown, you know, 70-year-old grannies thrown in the back, physically thrown into the back of Black Mariah's, and yet a couple of weeks before taking a knee for fucking the mostly peaceful riots of Black Lives Matter. So don't come there and saying, like, you know, oh, but you can, because the system's stacked against them. And even if you were to take it to the law courts, the snivelling shits in those same law courts would just say, oh, yeah, nothing to see, we're not going to agree to it anyway. But that's not the point that we're making. I've said for long enough now that we shouldn't be focused on any specific party or any group that wants to do something. And I'm not going to stand in those people who want to do that kind of thing, because if they think there's, you know, even if it's at the local level, if they think there's a positive outcome to be had, then fair enough, go there. We need to be more focused on issues. And there needs, wherever there's an overlap on issues, in other words, you know, Group A, this is the issue of the time. Are you against fucking kids getting bits lopped off their anatomy? Yes, we are. So are we. Right, well, we'll support each other on this particular campaign. It doesn't matter who's the head of Group A or who's the head of Group B. It doesn't matter if they hate each other. As two groups, we will support each other on this issue. If it's an issue where there's not an agreement, for instance, like, you know, if you've got one of the more Civnatty side of things who are saying, oh, well, we want this. Yeah, we're not going to agree. We don't agree with that, but we're not going to do anything to negatively prevent you from having your little protest or your thing, because that's where we fall down. This is why, and I keep on saying this all the time, and I hate to use the term because left and right are meaningless these days, but this is why on the left, you will find the Rainbow Coalition grouping up with the Muzzies, right? Or just, you know, when it comes to voting somebody in a catchment area, just to keep somebody out who may be slightly right of centre, which nowadays is somebody who was against lockdown, somebody who doesn't want net zero, somebody who wasn't all on board for the jibby jabby. They are now far right now. So because it's not their guy, those two groups that would not coexist with one another in the real sense, because they would be enemies in the real sense. So your Rainbow Coalition and the Muzzies, because we all know what the Muzzies do to the Rainbow Coalition in their native lands, they will hold their noses and they will combine to make sure that somebody on the right will not get any sniff of power, even if it's just slightly to the right of centre, because both of those parties know that if ever there was a right of centre stronghold, then all of the rainbow shit gets thrown out of the window and all of the fucking immigration shit gets thrown out of the window. So they know collectively they'll combine to keep them out, because at the end of the day, even for that point in time, they can maintain that status quo. And that's where we find ourselves now. The problem on the right is, across the board, there are a lot of characters in the right, and I'm not picking out saying anybody or one person, any people in particular, but oftentimes, these fuckers could cause an argument in an empty room as long as there's a mirror in there, and that's the problem where we have, because there are too many strong characters, strong-willed people, which is that's a good thing ordinarily in a society where you've got power. But you can't afford to be like that when you've got fuck all power, and squabbling amongst yourselves is pointless and it's just a waste of time. Therefore, instead of squabbling amongst yourselves or, I'm the leader of this and I'm the leader of that, focus on the issue. Do you support this issue, campaign against this issue? Yes, we do. Well, we'll do it as a collective and we'll be issue focused. You've got your little group, we've got ours, but as a collective, we're going to stand against this issue. And that's the way it'll have to be if we are going to make any any headway into any form of discourse that's occurring at the moment. And here endeth the lesson.
well, Sansom. That was an excellent lesson. But I wanted to pick up on a point here. I think that the problem is with our judiciary, or one of the problems is with our judiciary. There used to be an old judge, I forget his name, but he said that a jury should be made up of the man on the Clapham omnibus. Do you remember that? I forget the name of him. God knows what the man on the Clapham omnibus looks like these days. And I think that is a part of the problem. I think that the judges, they've grown up in their lefty universities, and they decide the law according to politics, not according to what is legal. And and again, the juries themselves will convict somebody who they think could be apparently racist or something. I mean, this is the thing with Sam Melia. His case, everything that all his stickers were true, but the prosecution and the judge turned around to the jury and said, truth doesn't matter. It's how you feel he felt at the time. I mean, this is just ridiculous what's happening.
Well, the other thing is, the jury had the option of doing what the juries have done with the climate protesters and the people that knocked down the statue in Bristol, and just says, no, we're not going to convict them. And the problem is that the jury that we now have, the political correctness in the country and in a lot of areas has gone so far that no longer happens. And we are very, very close to the stage where Great Britain can no longer have jury trials.
Well, I mean, they're trying to do that anyway in Scotland with fucking sexual offence trials, trying to get rid of juries. But I'll let you jump in again after. I want to say this much. See, over the years, right, over the fucking the past few years, not so much in like the last 2023 or 2022, but more specifically 2020 and 2021, the amount of bullshit I have from people who were allegedly from PA, anonymously on their fucking YouTube accounts or Telegram accounts, giving me shit 24/7. I just think a lot of them individuals are a bunch of wankers. But one thing I will say about PA is, and I'm not talking about their leadership per se or any of their like most noticeable figures, But it is interesting how they went from instant, like at the very beginning, their whole sole intention was that they wished to be a political party, and then as you fast forward, they've sort of revised history, and now it's not like, oh, well, we don't want to be. If we can be a party, we'll be a party, but that's not our core focus. Our core focus is community outreach, etc. Like, yeah, good one. That's not how you started off proceedings. Now, let me just add that as a caveat, whether or not like it's the courts and whatnot that are fucking them up. Something is fucking them up, and they can't get to where they wish to be. Right? That's a different matter entirely. Yeah, but then you look at that and you compare it to Homeland, as I said earlier on. Homeland managed to do it within the space of a fucking year. Don't know the reasoning for that. Really don't. Because anything you could say about Kenny Smith, right? You could say about Mark Collette and vice versa. Don't know. Really don't fucking know. Like that's really up to other people who wish to deep dive into these issues. It's not really my ballpark, in all honesty. Yeah. But whether or not they ever get into a position where they're a political party, that's fair enough. As far as like the likes of Sam are concerned, like, that's fucking awful. Of course, it's awful. You know, anything that happens to any individual for something as trivial as that, of course, it's fucking awful. But I think fundamentally, Roy, and I know that I don't know if you still are, but you used to be part of PA or a member or whatever. PA's biggest problem, as far as I'm concerned, if you want my honest opinion, PA's biggest problem is a good portion of their membership, because they're fucking cocks. That they are. They're anonymously wankers who have spent a good portion of their time chastising other people, like myself, for being anonymous, while they then go to the top of hills to take photos of them dropping banners while they then blur out their faces. There's no different. Kenny Smith, to his credit and whatnot, they're taking a different approach. They want to go mainstream. Fair enough. You do you, right? I want no part of it. Never have, never will. But there's something that has to be said about the fact for fucking years, anonymous wee ball bags, right? Shitting on me, shitting on No Chance, shitting on other people, right? Because we don't show our face and play our part, etc., etc. They have lost my sympathy. They've lost my support. Not that they had much to begin with, because of the amount of people who associate with PA in particular who are just cunts. They are.
Yeah.
They're cunts. They're fucking cunts. And I will never, ever shed a tear in that regard in terms of, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Don't care. You're cunts. That's not me chastising their leadership, right? Mark Collette is very good at speaking. He's very knowledgeable and whatnot. Laura Tyler, can't say a bad word about her. Her husband, horrible what's happening, right? But I'm talking about the people who are they're part of their membership base, right? Whether or not they show their face or not, they're just a bunch of dicks. So,
Well, let me put my point forward. I've never heard Mark Collette use the word Northern Ireland or the words Northern Ireland. Never heard Laura Tyler use the words Northern Ireland. Heard them talk an awful lot about the England, Scottish, Welsh, and Irish people. PA seem to be in favour of a united Ireland. Now, quite obviously, that's a deal breaker for me, because I want Northern Ireland to remain part of the United Kingdom. And therefore, PA have lost all of my support and sympathy because of their opinion on that. Do I think it's wrong what's happening to Lord Tyler's husband? Yeah, that's wrong. He should not be being convicted like that. But yeah, that's where I start beginning the end on that. I think it's wrong. I think we should have a proper legal system, but it is what it is. They have no interest in my country. I find it uninteresting in them. It's sort of a reciprocal. So there's where I am with PA.
you do make a valid fucking point there. Like, I don't think I've ever heard them mention it either, in all honesty. But as I say, like,
I'm
not trying to dismiss your point, but I just want to sort of re-emphasize again. Yeah. I do fundamentally feel that one of their biggest issues is a lot of their anonymous membership. They're fucking ball bags. They really are a bunch of fucking ball bags. Not all, don't get me wrong, not all, far from it, not all, but enough of them for it to become noticeable are fucking ball bags.
Edmund, I don't think they're controlled opposition. I think they mean exactly what they say. I think they're in for. I will give them. I don't think they're disingenuous in any way, shape, or form. I just don't like their position on Northern Ireland, and that's quite important to me. That's enough for me to go yeah or nay to any political party.
Ooh, fucking budgie
Oh,
burger. Oh, mate.
and
We're not going to
by
get
the
into
way,
that, like, but heard my stories and all.
the other thing is, I did email Mark Collette about the term Northern Ireland probably 5 years ago. Never heard anything back. So,
but well, even Millennial Woes, before he was sort of like fucking cast out of the sort of group, he made his points. I remember it back in the day about fucking the Scottish question, obviously, like independence and whatnot. And you're not going to hear what you want to hear. But Rory, have you, as I say, don't really wish the remainder of the stream to turn into some sort of bitch fest, but you asked me for my opinion earlier on. I'm just
I did,
curious
TJ.
what you think about that.
Well, yeah, I am a member of PA. Yep, I'm perfectly happy to say that. The people that I have met, not necessarily in person, seem to be very reasonable people. You know, I would challenge you about the integrity of the members. I think most of them are normal, good guys.
I'm not saying they're not. And to be clear, I've actually attended a PA conference myself. I met some pretty decent people. I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is that their online activity, right? So these are like people who are anonymous, right? And they have the absolute audacity to chastise and criticize people like myself, but not limited to, for being anonymous to a certain extent. It's not difficult to find out who the fuck I am. That said, a lot of these people have been anonymous themselves, and their online activity over recent years, not so much the last year or so, as far as I'm aware, but in recent years, regardless, they've just been pretty damn egregious, really. And I find a lot of them to be completely unpalatable.
Well, that's bad to hear. That's bad news. I mean, you know, I don't hide myself. 42 News knows my name.
Yeah.
I am who I say I am, and if I say something, then yeah, if someone wants to come back at me and challenge me on it, I will reply to them. I will argue with them. But yes, DJ, yes, there's a good point you make. Yeah, you know, people hiding behind, you know, false names or whatever. Yeah, attacking you. Then no, I wouldn't even put up with that. To be honest, I'd be pissed off.
It just that stuff's annoyed me for a while. Like as I say, it's like for years the likes of me, no chance. Even fucking Morgoth, like we were all being attacked, you know, like for not showing our face and whatnot. That stuff just appeared to me at the time as sort of petty, but it was the sort of pylons that began to emerge. You know, every stream that you were on or whatever, you just have a rake of ball bags in the fucking chat.
Right.
Like,
Out of
you have the same ball bags.
Right.
You
But
know?
don't you think? I mean, this is what I think. We should all stick together. We should not be attacking one another over minor issues. You know, we have major issues in this country and Ulster, you know, regarding immigration and all the other issues that we have, and the indigenous people being displaced. We should stick together, come together. The problem with the so-called far right is that we all seem to want to attack one another when we should be together. You know?
I very much agree with that. Hence why, for the vast majority of my existence online, I've not really quote unquote punched right. But what I'm saying is, a good portion of the attacks, if you want to call them that, whether or not trivial in nature, that have been my way, it's one sided, but it's all come from the one camp. It's not come from Kenny Smith's Homeland Party. It's not come from the Tommy Robinson Brigade. It's not come from any other group of people, Britain First and whatnot. It's come from a particular group. And let me emphasize again, this isn't me saying anything negative about their leadership. Even Chief Moody, he's a lovely dude. Met him as well. Met a good chunk of them a few years ago at their conference in Stirling. Met a good portion of them. Have nothing to say negatively about Laura or her husband. Nothing to say negatively about Mark Lett and his ability to speak and whatnot. I'm talking specifically about their online presence. There's a good portion of them that are fucking knobs.
I have a curiosity on that. Did something happen whereby you had a bunch of people come into PA who then went on online campaigns against anybody that wasn't showing their face and starting to say things like, we can't be taken seriously if you can't see who it is that's saying it, and everybody needs to be totally upfront about their name and having their face out there?
Yeah, I was more or less a victim of that campaign.
Right. That same campaign went through the men's rights movement around about 2013, 2014. Sorry, 2014, 2015.
Well, 42, I'd just like to say, I think that's generally true about the whole internet. Where people, you log on to X or whatever it is, or
No.
Facebook, and you make up a name, and you can basically say anything
Right.
you want
Yes,
and
but
attack somebody. It's very different from knowing somebody in person. And if you're in a pub, you'd never say that in a pub, would you? Meet somebody, don't say,
no,
you're a racist.
What I'm talking about, Rory, is movements that are together and organized, and there's a whole community there, and all of a sudden a bunch of people come in, and things that were acceptable before they arrived then suddenly become unacceptable because you've got a bunch of people that have been parachuted into the
Well, that's true. But 42. I mean, I don't think for 1 minute that PA would send messages out to its members.
Oh, I'm not saying.
Let me finish. And say, we have to attack DJ now. We're all going to attack DJ.
Right? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, is there a possibility that a bunch of people got themselves into PA with the intention of causing problems?
Well, I don't know.
Right, yeah, because what I'm saying is that's what happened in the men's rights movement in 2014, 2015. Right?
Sorry, which movement? What is it?
The men's rights movement.
What movement is that?
The men's rights movement.
Well, I haven't never heard of it. Could you explain that, 42?
It's a whole bunch of people and a bunch of. Okay, can I explain it? Okay, I'm going to share a video. Give us one momento. This would be the easiest way to do this.
Well, while you're doing that, 42.
Yep.
There is another topic. I don't know how long we have. There's another small topic I'd like to bring up a little bit later.
Right. One momento.
Which has absolutely nothing to do with what we've been talking about, but I think it's important. And it concerns abortion.
Right. 1 second. I get the right. Okay. StreamYard. That's it. Present. Share screen. Share screen. Right, a quick introduction to the men's rights movement. Is that playing even? It is. I should have actually put noise earlier on this.
They say men don't talk about their problems. They say men bottle it all up. They say this is down to some macho code and manliness that ignores hurt and pain. We say they are wrong. We say the problem is no one has been listening. In 1886, Ernest Bedford Bax of England wrote his first major commentary on genocentrism and misandry. The 1890s seen the formation of the New York Alumni Club, a group of men that asked for access to children and that payments to an ex-wife be set at a rate that did not render these men homeless. In 2014, groups like Fathers for Justice and Dads Matter are still asking. When men do come forward to speak, we are told to bring good news stories. Unfortunately, we have an understanding that bringing good news stories will not solve the problems that men face. Problems like 98% of all war dead are men, 95% of homeless are men, 90% of workplace fatalities are men. These facts have caused a silent scream that is the ever increasing male suicide rate. 80% of all suicides are men. The only solution to these problems that society has proffered so far has been to say, get a big straw and suck it up. Well, we are here to tell you, we are done with the straw. Men's rights is the radical notion that men are people too. We have the strange belief that services should be provided based on need, not gender. The global men's rights movement believe that a false rape allegation is as serious in America as it is in Australia or France or Northern Ireland. We are here to engage with government bodies and service providers. We are a diverse group of human beings that have transcended all typical barriers of gender, colour, class, or creed to work together for men and boys. The question is, are governments now ready to join us and become part of the solution? I hereby call upon the Northern Ireland Assembly and governments worldwide to implement the following measures. 1. Create and maintain shelters for male victims of domestic abuse to the same standard and frequency as those currently provided for women. 2. Make 50-50 shared parenting the default starting point in all contested custody cases. 3. Disbar all allegations of abuse or neglect from family courts unless they have first been proven in a court of law. 4. Vigorously pursue all cases of parental alienation and prosecute those who are found guilty. Court orders for access to children can no longer be ignored. 5. Introduce a means tested benefit that ensures all people retain at least 70% of their earnings during the period between separation and divorce. 6. Recognise the debt owed by society to veterans and implement the covenant in full. 7. Remove the word female from all genital mutilation legislation and protect all people. Removing 1/3 of the skin from a baby's genitals is barbaric and it is unacceptable. This list is far from conclusive and should merely be seen as a starting point for those of you who truly wish to work together for men and boys. 42. On behalf of Men's Rights Northern Ireland, part of the global men's rights movement, we await your response.
Well, that was excellent. 42.
Yeah. The men's rights movement is actually very large and it's worldwide. Said in the description list is my email address. Send me an email if you're having issues with child custody. I may be able to help a little bit. I may not. I don't know. It's a very case by case thing, but I'm very willing to have a go at getting you some assistance if I can.
Well, it's not just about that 42, is it?
Yep.
I mean, in my opinion, you have to go back further and say that men should be allowed to have a say on whether or not a woman has an abortion or not, because it is, at the end of the day, their child as well. That's
Yep.
what I believe in. And I was going to come on to this. I mean, I'll let you finish on that, because that was an excellent video. But
Yeah.
I was going to bring up the point later, and we can discuss this later maybe, that apparently there's a bill going through Parliament at the moment where they're going to allow a woman not to be prosecuted for aborting a baby up to the time of birth.
Well,
So in other words, she can murder her child at 9 months and she will not be sent to prison. They're going to change the bloody law.
right. Well, see, that
Excuse my
law
French.
that law has got a slight problem in that if she waits until a child's born and murders the living child before the age of 3, as opposed to murder, it goes to court as infanticide, and instead of going to prison, she goes to hospital.
No, 42. No, I'm talking about
Right?
6
Yes.
months. 6
Right?
months.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Right? Yes. But right.
Basically,
Right. Let me try to explain this. Why?
a baby that can be born and
Right.
can survive on its own.
Right. Yes. But right. Right. Why would there be more of a? Why would there be more legal repercussions for murdering a child that has not been born than there is for murdering a child that is born? Do you see where the problem is?
Well, it should be the same. Murder
Right.
is murder. I mean,
Right. Yes.
opinion.
Right.
You want my real opinion?
Right.
My
Yes.
opinion is that any abortion is murder.
Right. Yes. But currently it's not murder for a mother to kill a child within the first 3 years.
No, exactly.
It's infanticide. We'll need to get that one changed too. I am going to look up that bill because I will definitely be lobbying my member of parliament on it.
42. It's been in the news last couple of days, and apparently the Labour Party and the SNP, and probably most of the fake Conservative Party, are going to push it through Parliament. It's recent news, and I read an article saying 66% of people in the United Kingdom are against this. But the Parliament will not stand up for what we believe in.
Yeah. The other thing I would
Sorry for it. I was going to say is that one thing that you touched on before, which I hadn't really thought about, but now I am a 100% advocate of, is paternity testing at the point of birth.
yes. The fact that we have a system whereby half the people return home from hospital with a child that they know is theirs, and half the people return from hospital with a child that they have been told is theirs, is fucking ridiculous. If men could give birth, paternity testing would be mandatory in about a week. That should be. Oh, and the other thing is, how do you want to know how you get abortion laws changed? Really simple. You give men the ability to abort their financial and moral obligations for the same duration that a woman can abort the actual child. Because if it was a case of up to the point of birth, the mother can abort the child, then up to the point of birth, the father can go, actually, yeah, I won't fuck all to do this and just walk away. And as much as they want to give women all the choices about abortion, they want to ensure that men have all the responsibilities. So make it a financial and moral abortion for fathers and a physical abortion for mothers, and you will see all those laws change really fucking quickly.
Did send you what Rory was talking about in the private thing if you want
Yeah.
to read it. But I think we kind of went a bit off topic there. I think there was a point to you bringing up your video from earlier on a side note. I'm not entirely sure if that's a segue that's conclusive or not, but
yes, I'm not going to get too deep on that now because we are currently 3 hours in, and it's 1:30 in the morning. I do want to start reading the whole article and all that sort of stuff.
Fuck it.
No.
No, thanks, TJ, for that. Yeah, from the Guardian article.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First, I've heard of it, admittedly.
Right.
Are you going to play us out with one of the tracks, mate? That'd
yes.
be a good
I'm going to do two things. I'm keeping that link up for the abortion thing because I'm going to be lobbying my MP about it. There's going to be letters and shit written.
No, it's well, I suppose you could probably still do that, but according to the article, anyway, it's not in Northern Ireland or Scotland.
Right, it's England and Wales.
Yeah,
and then
for now
it'll shift, it'll migrate. Always fucking does.
Well, isn't I thought Ulster was under English law, or is it not?
No, there are matters that are devolved.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the laws that brought in, they'll have a law for England and Wales. Sometimes they will also do Northern Ireland and Scotland. Scotland are forging ahead with a bunch of their own laws.
We got Scots laws, like totally different to fucking
UK
law.
Different. No, I was just thinking 42. I mean, if it doesn't apply that to Ulster at the moment, then it'll be coming at some point, won't it?
Yeah, more or less.
It's the abortion over here is a very, very red button issue. Apparently, it has the way it was for ever how long I've been alive was women could access an abortion, but they had to go to the mainland to do so. They're trying to get, and they've made it legal for abortion clinics in Northern Ireland, but I don't think any of them are up and running as yet because there's a whole big shitstorm about that one.
Which is funny as well, because one of the only things the SNP ever actually voted on that would affect a different nation within the UK was, in fact, that. The SNP love to talk about how they'll take a back seat when it comes to any votes and whatnot. But yet the SNP took pride. Nicola Sturgeon's SNP took pride in the fact that they helped to push through that very fucking thing you're speaking about there. For abortions and abortion clinics, legalizing abortion in Northern Ireland. You can thank the SNP for that. So,
right.
Very, very, very quick question for DJ. How do you think the election's going to turn out in Scotland this year?
Labour SNP. What you mean? General election for the UK, eh?
Yeah, well, a general election.
I said this like almost 3 hours ago in the stream, but I'm pretty convinced, and I'm not really in the way of making predictions. And the 2 points that I made earlier on was that first and foremost, if you're wrong in your predictions, you look like a dick. But second of all, just not that way inclined anyway. But I kind of feel it's going to be SNP Labour coalition. So yeah.
Okay. Right. I missed the beginning of the stream, unfortunately. That's family round, but
that's what I think. So
okay,
it doesn't matter
excellent.
if the SNP get in again as a majority or if they get in with Labour, we're fucked. So we're fucked.
Right. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go around the board, give everybody a chance for last thoughts, and then I'm going to play the outro. Okay. We'll do it in natural order, which would be DJ, Sansom, Roy, because that's the way I'm looking at it on the screen.
Is this like
DJ
in terms of testosterone levels and height?
No,
and
it's it's in terms of where you ended up with your square on the screen.
No, that's the wrong answer there, mate. Like, you should have said, yes, Papa DJ, you are very much the alpha. I have a very, very bad feeling that whatever the fuck you're going to play us out with is one of Sensem's concoctions.
No, it's
Just
not.
because I'm not convinced. Time will tell, eh? But no, nothing really to report in terms of going forward. I'm live tomorrow or today even, with Scott Sarmer. No Clive, sadly, because he's he's going through his transition at the moment. Soon he'll be called Claudette. So it's me, Scott Sarmer, and William. 8:30 is Scott Sarmer's channel. Not providing a link. If you're not subbed already, go fuck yourself. Fuck that. Nah, Spotty Dogs have me on. Adios. Bye bye.
Excellent. What I also want to say is thanks for coming on and having an impromptu 3-man stream, which leads me nicely on to Sansom. Any thoughts from yourself, sir?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it because we've covered a wide range of topics. We've been brutally honest on many different things. We've had differences of opinion, but it hasn't descended into bullshit. That's the thing that winds me up. And I'm on board with what Rory was saying. I think we should have, from on our perspective on the right in general, irrespective of parties or groups or whatever, we should have a confederacy, an issue-based confederacy on the right, where the sole focus is on the issue in question. And we won't make any headway until we have that. And then from a housekeeping perspective, mate, because I didn't even know you were streaming tonight. Like I said earlier on, I said I didn't see any link or anything, because I did check your channel before Bonnie Lad went live. But tomorrow, obviously, our good friend Ragnar Ironspear is on at 7, and he's got Matt the Angry Bootneck on. Then it's DJ and Scott Sarmer over on Scott Sarmer's show. I think William's turning up tomorrow as well, DJ, isn't he? I think that's life, but not as we know it. So that'll be a good one. And like I say, I'm hoping I'm back for that. And then obviously myself and Toffee, I haven't posted the link up yet myself, so that's been a bit remiss of me. We'll be doing a stream on Monday again at 8 o'clock, and that's it from me, mate. So thanks for tolerating my jape. And
I might be on that stream, depending on whether or not I am available. Just so people know.
Well, because DJ is the star, obviously he has to make, his time is very precious. So what he said to me was, "I'll come on if I can be asked." So
well, you can interpret it that way if you wish, but that's kind of not.
But no, no. So like I say, so that'll be on Monday. If DJ makes it, that's a double bonus, and I shall pass it over to the one and only dulcet tone, best voice on our spheres anyway. The one and only should do audiobooks, Rory Herbert.
Well, that's so extremely kind of you, Samson. I would just like to say it's to 42. It's lovely always to be on your channel. I've never been on with DJ and Samson before. I think on any channel anywhere. So that's been a lot of fun. And as Samson said, yeah, there's been a lot of interesting topics discussed. We're not people who argue with each other. We may have differences of opinion, but that is good, and that's something we can discuss. And I think 42 going forward, you should do this again, because it's a good conversation. And the chat, just to say to the chat, great comments. I haven't been to read them all, but it's some really good things going on there too. We have a good group of people that we can discuss things with, not get angry, and say what we think, believe.
Rory, as always, absolute pleasure having you on. Totally agree with you. The difference between the right and the left is we're not necessarily in lockstep, and we can thrash out our differences and strengthen our arguments that way. It, I've really enjoyed it. Always good to have yourself on. And the regular streams with Sansom and DJ haven't really went this year, but they may come back whenever things have a cycle, and hopefully we'll get back to doing them a bit more regular. No pressure on the two lads, by the way. Whenever it works, it works. Whenever it doesn't, it doesn't, and we'll carry on as best we can. But yes, thanks, Rollies. And then I'm going to play some Eat Sea Bugs, and then we'll get the fuck out of here. This is 42 speaking. Welcome to the Resistance.
You will own nothing, and you will be happy. And you will eat the bugs. Eat the bugs.
Oh shit, man. Eat the bugs? You got me wrong. You got me so wrong. You ever seen a cave drawing of somebody with a spear hunting a mosquito? Well, me either. We eat meat and we have choices. You cook the hedgehog right? It tastes like chicken. Fucking chicken. I ain't eating your bugs. I ain't eating your bugs. I started off with nothing and I'm never going back. I'm not getting on your progressive track. With Agenda 2030, I refuse to engage. I can see where it is going and it's just another cage. I've got hedgehog, I've got rabbit, I've got wild hog. Fuck it, I could even move to Alaska and get me a nice caribou. Fuck it, I'm not eating your bugs. You're trying to take away what I fought so hard to get, so I'm going to say no to your cattle call trade. Eat the bugs? Live in some communal pod with no fucking privacy? Own nothing and be happy? I've seen the people with nothing and they don't look happy. Eat the bugs? Live in some communal pod with no fucking privacy? Own nothing and be happy? I'm not eating your bugs. Fuck it. Fuck it. I'm not eating your bugs. Fuck it. I'm not eating your bugs. Fuck it. Fuck it. Oh shit, man, you got me wrong. You got me so fucking wrong. There are millions of us in the UK, billions worldwide, unvaccinated, striding out into our third winter of death with not a care in the world. Eating pig, eating cow, eating chicken, and we will not conform. Fuck it, I'm not eating your bugs. Hey, Klaus Schwab, this is 42, and I want the word with you, motherfucker.
This is the fourth industrial revolution. We have a window of opportunity for the great reset. Technology is a critical weapon. History is truly at a turning point. We can shape a better world, and we will reglobalize to make it a better place. So we'll own nothing, and so we'll be happy, and so we'll eat the bugs.
Ryan got me talking. Why is United Nations in charge of Stonehenge? Keeping me away from the stones? That's not world heritage, that's British heritage. You're getting to the point where the people just want to be left alone and going to get involved. Tell me again, why is United Nations running Stonehenge? Stonehenge, Newgrange, a fucking Perry Mountain Range, now all by UNESCO, so you and I can never go. Fuck your 15-minute cities and your Internet of Things. We are going back to nature, see what that life brings. We had a good look at the banning new day, so we hook up with the Woodlander and take our shit off grid. Fuck it. We hook up with the Woodlander and take our shit off grid. Fuck it. We hook up with the Woodlander and take our shit off grid.
You were all nothing. That's your world. It's a box. It's a box. You must be happy.
This is 42 speed. Welcome to the Resistance. Fuck it. What the hell has happened now? Wait, that not go. That's the one. Right. We're back. Yes, and you can hear me. Right. The guests have been the guests. Oh, there's a link for the Spotify for the Justice Kane album in the link there. If you want to find it on Spotify, that's where you go find it. Hear the whole album. It's fucking mint. It's all. If you like this stream, you will like that music. I can guarantee you, you'll definitely like the message. Anyway, the guests have been the guests. I have been 42. You lot in the chat have, as always, been fucking amazing. Thank you. Good night. God bless. See you all next week. I'm out of here.